Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For your Sunday night here on SimSpeed TV, we're back with Premier Endurance League's GT3 Racing. It's Gamer Gear Direct Australian GT3 Open Endurance Series, round 3 from Autodromo Nazionale Monza in Monza, Italy. One of the greatest racetracks anywhere in the world, certainly one of the most exciting as far as racing is concerned, with high average speeds, slipstreaming for single-seater cars, GT cars, whatever it may be. And it's just a beautiful looking place. David Haynes here with Reese Gardner, with Peter Baxter, with Jay Kennedy on production and replays. Been an exciting series so far. Always close, always very strategy driven, and that's what we're looking forward to, Reese.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's in the league name, isn't it? Premier Endurance League. It is a 2-hour race that we have got on our hands for tonight, following qualifying and warm-up. And what a place to come to here at Monza. Zoom on in to this beautiful planet of ours and see exactly where this place is located. Opened in the early 1920s. It is one of the oldest purpose-built racetracks still running. And it's always been a temple of speed, but throughout the years, it's been through quite a few changes, namely chicanes being added at multiple points around the lap and reprofiling of a few corners, but it still follows the same basic route that it did when it first opened in 1922. We are, of course, running the Grand Prix layout, which means those chicanes are in full force.
Yeah, the most popular, most common layout, but there are some super interesting ones around here, including that historic 2-mile oval, the combined version as well, that is a super long racetrack. There's ways you can cut some of the chicanes, and so there's a whole heap of different possibilities around here at Monza, but we're on the Grand Prix circuit normal, which is still super high speed, particularly out of Alboreto Curve onto the long front straight that then narrows into the braking zone for the first chicane. You carry so much speed through that second Lesmo, back underneath the banking and into the Ascari chicane as well. Great track, super well known, some interesting features around here like a golf course and a swimming pool. Pete, what do you think we're going to see out of this 2-hour race? What have you been chatting with the drivers about?
Hey, look, the first thing that stands out to me, and it's Masters Week in golf, so there's a 27-hole golf course sitting just to the north of the track, right? That's pretty cool for those of us that are old enough to appreciate golf. Anyway, aside from that, we've got 65% fuel tanks tonight, so that's 40 to 45 minutes worth of racing. And you did say Templar speed. These cars do burn a little bit more fuel at this track because it is a Templar speed, but you do have the option to get in the draft and save lots of fuel. So the one thing that's really going to stand out tonight, and I'm not sure anybody's really talked about it yet, is that we have a potential in the second half of race. We've got a 50 to 60% chance that we might get some rain tonight, lads. So if we got fuel calculators working on front half dry track fuel burn, and we've got a dry second half of the race, then potentially a mid-race safety car could mix up the results quite significantly here. And that's something that I think we need to look out for. And from a whole race perspective, I think we just need to keep an eye on what's going to happen with the weather. If there's rain coming in, I'll keep a lookout on the radar, and we'll see if we can call it sort of 5, 10 or 15 minutes before it comes in.
Yeah, good call. Fuel economy could be very predicated on your position in the pack and your track position and who of your teammates or anyone else is willing to work with you, and then keeping an eye at all times on the changing weather conditions. With 2 rounds completed, last time we were at Sebring, Connor Nixon leads the championship here, 641 points, just ahead of Dean Mackay, Dylan Shepherd, Blake Neck, Ethan Bass, Nick Wood, Stuart Shaw, Trent Allen, Lachlan Capel, and James Duckworth. So that's super close up front. And again, anything can happen at Monza, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. Good to see Ethan Bass again on broadcast. I raced with him quite a bit back in the day, some 10, 15 years ago. Very long time ago, and he's still active there for Orbit Drop Bear. But yeah, I got to say, pretty much a who's who of some very quick sports car drivers here from the AusNZ SimSphere. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Dylan Shepherd can do to make an impression on Dean Mackay and Connor Nixon. It is, of course, very close between Nick Wood and Stuart Shaw for 6th spot as well. A little bit bigger gaps outside of those places, but the battle between Wood and Shaw should certainly be one to think about here tonight.
The battle between Wood and Saw is one to always think about. Qualifying just wrapping up. Warm-up is what they're about to get into. There's the swimming pool. Got good room in the corner there for the diving board as well. We're not far away from diving into the racing. The weather as it stands now doesn't look too bad, but we've got to constantly keep our eye on that, Peter.
Absolutely not. It looks like the weather's coming in for the second half of the race, lads. So I expect the whole race to start on dries. I expect the warm-up to be on dry, but we may not see clouds rolling into about midway through after the first pit stop, so about 45 minutes or so. Expect it to change. And look, at the end of the day, it's 50% rain, so that means it's 50% dry the whole way through the race too. So, you know, it's a question mark right now, and it's something that will be answered in about an hour's time. So let's not sort of, I wouldn't lay all my cards on it, put it that way.
So it's eyes on the track and it's eyes in the sky. Qualifying is done, and that should lock in our grid. It's been a very, very strong turnout, very well attended across the 2 rounds so far. Matthew Dench and Dean Mackay make it an all Porsche front row of the grid with the 25-minute qualifying session completed. Adam Wright gives us our highest placed Ferrari in 3rd, with Rue Koistra 4th in a Acura/Honda NSX. First Audi is Dylan Shepherd, then Daniel Benefield in the Porsche. The drivers aren't completely locked in to their choices here either, by the way. They've got at least the opportunity to change car once or twice. Eli Donaldson and Ben Woods are the next row. You've got a McLaren and a Mustang. Great variation of models and teams and drivers inside of this top 10. Where Ethan Bass and Jackson Dial, the Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport teammates in different models of car, are 9th and 10th, Reese.
They are indeed. Andrew Scordelis is going to start 11th spot alongside Adam Jepson to round out your 6th row. And we have Trent Allen starting lucky 13th in the number 27 Mustang. Got Darcy Inwood in the second of the OPR Audis alongside him. Russell Pepperell going to start in 15th in the Kiwi Sim Racing Mustang. Connor Nixon, our championship leader, only managing to qualify in 16th place. So this is going to be an interesting race for him. Starting 17th is Sam Sproul and Stuart Shaw alongside him in P18, our 10th row of the grid. Jamie Saxon in the 418, starting alongside Trent Stapleton.
Like we said, great grid, and it continues with Leif McClymont and Tommy Wallace, 21st and 22nd. I'm certainly seeing plenty of Porsche 911 GT3Rs throughout the field. Mark Foster in one of the beautiful Corvettes, yes, alongside a Mustang for Patrick Reardon. Brad Coates McLaren alongside his teammate Kurt Normanson in the Audi R8. Matthew Gerard in an Acura, Ashley Kutcher in the Ford Mustang. And then 29th and 30th is Mercedes AMG GT3 2020 spec cars with James Abella and Logan Murphy.
Starting out at 31st, Bobby Camo with Martin Lipsky and Isaac Curtis behind him, the last drivers to set qualifying times. Scott Bartin, of course, our safety car driver. And we have two drivers who did not set times in qualifying, being Rick Provenzal and Daniel Coleman. So we should have 33 starters for this round of the Premier Endurance League. And he is hoping that they all get through lap 1, turn 1 cleanly. But at Monza, sometimes that's a complete lottery.
Weather constantly changing. It changed when they went from qualifying into the warm-up. Going to need to reevaluate in just 2 minutes' time when they go from the warm-up to the race. Beautiful shots from on high, but look at all those trees. You can see them moving just a little bit in the about 12 to 15 kilometer an hour breeze that's coming in from the southwest. And 19.8, track 25. Enough that the Victorians would definitely be jumping in that swimming pool. I'm not sure a banana bender or a sand groper would dare when the weather's below 20 degrees.
Yeah, certainly not. Hopefully it'll be an indoor heated pool at least. But we are, of course, in, for now, sunny northern Italy, in a public park. That's one of the unique factors of Monza. The fact that it is indeed in public parkland, and obviously you're not able to get onto the racetrack, but you can walk around the grounds pretty much anytime you like. It's open to the public all year.
Our friend Eugenio Pellicci walks his dog through the parklands here, occasionally has a poke through the trees at what might be testing around here, and loves to come to a race weekend. So he must live within walking distance of the track if he's bringing his dog. Well, maybe he drives and then he walks his dog in the park. You might do that for a large park like this. Big Italian flags on top of the mobile phone towers just to the right-hand side there as well. And keep an eye on sort of, are they not looking particularly affected by the wind? I was going to say keep an eye on any flags or wind socks around, but those are very rigid Italian flags.
Yeah, looking a bit old and crusty, probably. Maybe that's something that we can send to the iRacing QA team. Make sure that they can wave those flags in builds to come. But regardless, still good to see that patriotic fervor being alive and well here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, as warm-up is complete, and it looks like Russell Pepperell just popping in there to set the fastest time in the warm-up session. And now we are getting ready for our 2-hour race here to come. Matthew Dench, of course, starting on that pole position. This is going to be a massive boon for him and a potential great points haul, but the drivers will be focusing on the slipstream the whole way around this place. Monza is all about traction out of the slow corners, maintaining that speed through the high-speed Parabolica and through the medium-speed Lesmos, and obviously making sure that you don't go too hard into the back of the car in front of you when you get to those braking zones.
It might also, through the Lesmos and the chicanes, be a little bit about track limits. 50 incident points to a drive-through and then 10 thereafter. 50 is a reasonable number, but this is a 2-hour race. It is going to be a ferocious race with over 30. I'm seeing perhaps 33-ish GT3s ready to go. That's another look in the front row, Matthew Dench and Dean Mackay. So you don't want to burn a lot of your incident points early and then perhaps a bit of rain and weather come along and you find yourself in a very, very difficult situation. Pace car is pulling away, having just rested in the shade of the overpass of the old banked circuit.
Yes, indeed. And brilliant thing about sim racing is you have the ability to race on that old layout, unlike in the real world. Obviously, the high banked oval in the real world is a bit too decrepit to have any serious racing happen on it, but iRacing does allow you to drive on it, and there's been plenty of great events on that layout. But here we are at the Grand Prix layout, coming out of the Ascari chicane and getting ready to tour through the Parabolica at pace speed. And then it will be all down to Matthew Dench to control the start once the pace car pulls in.
Hey, g'day, gents. I just had a quick chat with a couple of drivers. Dean Mackay is just hoping to get through turn one. The good old typical Monza fear of turn 1-2. A couple of guys from backfield, Jamie Saxon and Mark Fozzie, down about midfield. They just want to get through the race, and they're looking forward to what might happen if it gets wet. So a couple of different views, right? Get past turn one and see how it goes, or race until the rain mixes it up and then see what I can make out of it.
Plenty of space between the front row and the pace car. It's already in pit lane. The green flag moments away. Matthew Dench on the inside line going, but he'll get up to speed and they'll begin to slipstream back towards him before the braking zone of turn one. 3 wide with one of the 9.5 Simsport Porsches sandwiched in the middle. There's another 3 wide there with the Mustang sandwiched in between. 2 wide in the braking zone here is one thing, but 3 wide, you see multiple lanes deep. It's going to be a gigantic concertina effect through the mid and tail of the field, where it's still 3 wide and you've got a couple of cars jumping over the curbing. There'll be a slowdown penalty or 2 for a few drivers out there, like Stuart Shaw. He's got one, but what we didn't see was a gigantic incident. And with the exception of Trent Allen popping in and out, Daniel Coleman dropping a tiny bit, I think almost everyone has gone okay through the first chicane. A little bit of a rub here through the second.
Oh, Rui Coimbra spinning around in the Acura. Fortunately, no one else involved there. Looked like Ben Woods might have had to check up. Just too much curb there for Coimbra at the Variante della Roggia. He finally gets going at the back of the grid as the field makes their way through the Lesmos. That's a move being made for one of the Orbit Drop Bear Porsches, the 200 of Jackson Dial, passing his teammate Ethan Bass, now under attack from Andrew Scordelis.
And Ben Woods got his Mustang super sideways coming through the second Lesmo. Now he's under pressure as they head down towards Ascari. There's a bit of a split in the group with that contact to Rui Coimbra. The top 6 breaking away from the rest of the field, led by 7th place Ben Woods right now. Jackson Dial seems to have plenty of speed. His teammate Ethan Bass is letting him go. Now he's all over Ben Woods. And I think in fast, dry conditions, that Porsche seems very strong. You've got a 360 from a 720 in the background.
It looks like that was Matthew Gerard, probably in the 169 going for a spin, unless it was someone else that I couldn't keep track of. But lap 1 is complete, and I got to say, they got through turn 1 very well, but turns 3 and 4 did not go too well for some. Logan Murphy in the 666 Mercedes didn't have a very nice time at all. He went straight into the back of Daniel Coleman and has lost his front bumper. So we keep our eyes on... there's been a problem for Allen and Darcy Inwood as well, falling down the order.
Trent Allen's been having connection problems. I think I said it earlier, and then backwards in the first chicane, losing a handful of spots. Then he popped out and back in again. Don't know if that led to how that all began.
I don't think it did. I just went and checked, and it was Sam Sproul coming in as Trent Allen turned in for turn 1. It was just a straight up spin, and unfortunately Darcy Inwood was completely stopped. So this is another view of what happened to Rukoistra in the Acura on the left-hand side. And you'll see he was squeezed a little bit to the inside of the turn here, but it was just coming off the curb there. The weight transfer not working to the 252's favour, and around he went. There was no contact from behind that turned him around there.
Certainly looking a little darker and more menacing on the racetrack right now. As lap 2 continues. Matthew Dench still leading with that pole. Jackson Dial moving past Ben Woods here into Parabolica. Perhaps his teammates will look to come alongside as well. Adam Jepson and Andrew Scordilis, the Acuras battling back there. Adam Wright takes the fastest lap. Dylan Shepherd then goes and takes it. We're getting up to speed now, and you're going to see exactly how powerful the slipstream is in many, many places around this racetrack. It is the temple of speed. It is high average speeds.
Yeah, and there's Ethan Bass trying to get the move done on Ben Woods round the outside of turn 2. A little bit better traction from the 219, and he'll get the move completed there into Curva Grande. This is the move, the spin that we saw happening in the background earlier, the 169, just catching the curb wrong at Ascari. Those little speed bumps at the apexes really do a number on your suspension and unsettle the car. That's rather unfortunate for him. Also saw a spin a little bit earlier for the 418 of Jamie Saxon. He did pretty much the exact same thing, and they were both inaccurate. So if you're driving a mid-engine car, you need to be really careful of those curbs.
I'd say that your inputs have got to be really accurate. And I would say that and stand by it. Adam Wright in second place. So he's moved that Ferrari up ahead of Dean Mackay. Going to go to a replay, Reese.
Yes, indeed, of course. Sam Sproul on board here. The number 22 up in front of him. Oh, Connor Nixon, our championship leader there. And, it was very deep there from Sam Sproul. And that's the reason why Trent Allen was turned around at turn 1, unfortunately. Trying to get a move done, but there was a checkup happening ahead.
Yeah, lads, I think race control probably going to have a close look at that one. You see there's no overlap, there's a little bit of tap, and it's turn come around. So we'll come back to that, and we'll see how it goes.
Side by side to the big braking zone at turn 1, consistently an action zone, and Ben Woods is being bullied somewhat between teammates, but he refuses to yield. He holds his ground, and Ethan Bass moves ahead of Woods and Dial, and Dial has dropped back a couple of positions here. So we've got Scordilis and Jepson, the two NSX GT3 Evo 22s on the tail of this group, watching the little delicate dance that's happening.
Yeah, it is a delicate dance in the braking zones. I mean, obviously the anti-lock braking system of these GT3 cars will help you out in these braking zones, but got to be quite careful not to push it too hard, otherwise the ABS is going to overwhelm the tyres somewhat, and you'll actually end up with a slightly longer braking zone. So the drivers obviously have to drive around that. Still on for the lead, with Matthew Dench not able to get much of a gap out over Adam Wright. Dean Mackay falling back to second spot. Dylan Shepherd remaining in fourth for the time being. This is certainly looking like a good breakaway pack. Ended with Daniel Benefield there in P6. Now, the drivers here up the front of the field, obviously they're thinking about the fuel game. They want to try and save a bit in the slipstream. However, don't want to get too close. And I think that's the reason why we're not seeing any big moves happen thus far in this top 6. They're just holding station, flying in formation for the time being.
Talk about that 50 incident point limit. What is Dean Mackay's fastest lap of the race, Reese Gardner? This is a rhetorical question I've asked you as well recently.
Yes, it does not exist at the moment. Mackay has gotten an off track on every lap so far, and we are now 4 laps into the race. So I'll have to be careful of that, as Sam Sproul has gotten a drive-through penalty for that incident we saw with Trent Allen. We also have a 5-second penalty that's been assigned to Logan Murphy for the incident at Variante della Roggia on lap 1, going straight into the back of the Porsche in front of him. Race control evidently right on board with all this. Man, Dean Mackay is really struggling, isn't he? That's another slight off track there through the Lesmos, and he's starting to lose touch with the top two.
Watching the Ascari, I noticed at last lap the Porsches seem to be taking way more of those anti-cut inverted commas curves through Ascari than some of the other cars. We've seen that the NSX doesn't seem to like to do it, but through particularly the final bit of Ascari here, the left-handed there, Monch, go the Porsches. The other cars stay off it a little bit more.
Yeah, interesting point. We're going to see here what got the 5-second penalty for Logan Murphy on the brakes into the second chicane, and oh dear, bang. That is a massive hit there for, I think that, yeah, Staniel Coleman there in the number 23. And of course, the Porsche has the engine in the back. So there's a lot of potential for damage if you run into the back of a Porsche. Getting a little bit further forward, meanwhile, the number 22 of Connor Nixon. He's made up a couple of positions, up to 12th now, but he's getting pressured by Russell Pepperell and Trent Stapleton, and Pepperell's in the slipstream. Wants to go for the move at turn 1.
Indeed he does. So the unbroken sort of pack from 7th place back, beginning to split in a few places. And that is Nixon very clearly letting Russell Pepperell go into 12th position to lead this little group. So he's sandwiched between the two Mustangs. Here's another little group. Nick McLean with James Abella. Stuart Shaw.
That was a interesting moment there for the Merc.
A dent to the nose of both of these Mustangs. So they've been to the same Cars and Coffee.
There's the number 27.
Trent Allen's trying to recover, of course. We know where he got some of his damages. He was turned around and then some cars clipped his nose. Stuart Shaw has put his nose into the tyres. I think that's the exit of the second chicane. Yeah, so he's out of shot there. But trust me, he's up against the barrier.
Oh dear,
The
it's not
helicopter
ideal.
out, Jay. Yeah.
Waited for the gap for everyone to go by before he got going again. Don't want to risk an unsafe re-entry and ruining other people's races, let alone getting a penalty from race control. And remember, Stuart Shaw was in that battle with Woods in the championship, and actually, I've just gone back to look at that incident. I think that might be worth a replay. It looks like a bit of 3 wide going very wrong there for Stuart Shaw, largely due to the actions of one James Abella.
Yeah, mate, I agree with you there. I reckon James Abella might have something to answer for. Although the cars were side by side, so rubbing is racing in the whole touring car tin top racing that we have. And sometimes these cars will bounce side by side, but I think James might have a question to answer. Stewie's been on the back end of it. Hey guys, I do have some news for you. Now that we're getting a little bit more awareness of what might be happening in the future, our rain prediction is no more than 8% precipitation. So that's a 92% chance that this race is staying dry. So for anyone who's holding out for the rain, I think they might be holding a breath of air that they might need to exhale.
Yeah, fair enough. It is looking like a rather dry race. Of course, the projections beforehand for a 50% chance of rain, that is a 50% chance of any rain at all. And of course, that can change as time goes on. Keep our eyes peeled, meanwhile, here on another incident down into Parabolica. It seems that these 3 wide moments are not ideal for many cars. That was the 91 and the 252's Rook Hoystra with another problem there. Not only did he have that spin in the first lap of the second chicane, but it's gone wrong from a Parabolica as well. And things are getting really crazy here in the battle for 17th place. Abella got Darcy Inwood behind him, damage to the front end. He's going to try and go at Ascari. A little bit of room given, but Abella having to clamber all over the curbs just to stay out of it.
And then out through the grass and the gravel from Brad Coates and some of the others here. There's a fair chunk of damage on that. There's a late lane change. Mercedes versus McLaren. You've got a Corvette sandwich, one of the few of them in the middle of the pack here. And Abella will just give a tiny bit of door before the turn into Ascari. There's a few cars representing just a little bit of damage. Trent Allen's caught up to the tail of this group and is now going to pit in. And James Abella has a drive for it.
Yeah, it was for the earlier incident, and man, Abella is making some very large swerves in that battle on live pictures, but this is, the 144 of Andrew Scordalis, massive crash at Ascari, and that is a very bad spot. That's right at the exit. Looks like the rear right is completely gone thanks to that. In fact, looks like the left rear with a little bit too much toe out there as well. So that's very easily going to be a car stopped there at the exit of Ascari. Potentially room for a safety car there, but we'll see what race control thinks about that.
I'd say so. That seems like a high safety car probability, doesn't it? He's got both of the drive shafts damaged. He's not going anywhere. He's towing.
Okay.
Boys, will be race on. There's no safety car for that one. They have just granted permission for car 144 to tow.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter.
The Acuras are looking a real handful, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a few of them sort of spin out because they haven't landed nicely from the curbs in a couple of places, and a few of them qualified really well and inside of the top 10 and such. When you compared how Matthew Dench and Dean Mackay were climbing all over the curbs with impunity, it looks like a much finer touch is required to get speed from the Acuras at the moment and in these conditions. I always say, though, you never judge which car you want to be in until we've seen maybe one or two pit stops as well, though.
Speaking of pits, there's James Abella coming in to serve his drive-through penalty. And the race will continue further up the field here. Battle for the top three. Dean Mackay finally has a best lap on the board here after struggling in the early stages. Dylan Shepherd with some technical issues.
It took Dean Mackay 6 laps.
Yeah, so that's at least 6 incident points that Dean Mackay already has to his name. Keeping an eye on the lap times, Mackay is looking quick. He's running level with everyone here, but Eli Donaldson seems to be the one with the greatest pace here in the number 18 McLaren. 148.5, fastest of the field on the previous lap. Matthew Dench is just managing the pace at the front right now. Oh dear. Oh, that's a bit late. Oh my God. Okay, so 418, that is a car that we saw spinning in the background earlier on, Jamie Saxon, and the Corvette involved in all of that. Certainly would have been none too happy. It looks like it might have been Mark Foster. Oh, damage, I think, being carried on from that incident.
Yeah, fair bit of damage, presumably still there from big hit to turn 1. I did see there was a slowdown penalty for Foster, and I think it was as he got sort of moved across the first chicane.
Yeah, just way too late on the brakes there for Saxon. Meanwhile, in the battle for the top 6, Daniel Benefield making moves here, passing Eli Donaldson into the first corner, and that is how you get a pass done at the first turn.
It's a consistent source of drama as turn 1. Trent Stapleton's going through the alternative chicane.
Yeah, somewhat resembling the original configuration of the first chicane here at Monza, which was actually a double chicane.
This is how he ended up there. So he... Oh, yeah, so he gets the second part of the curb and he's backwards and uses that to right himself rather than turn into traffic. So he didn't shoot straight on. he made most of the chicane, and that's why I didn't see him with the slowdown penalty, actually, because he didn't cut the chicane. He made all of it, and then a little extra.
Yeah, far from ideal.
This is going well for this top 6 because they are now almost 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field. You can see that there's a 7 to 8 second gap between Eli Donaldson and Ethan Bass, 6th to 7th. So for everyone inside of the top 6, this is playing out pretty well for them, you'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And the only driver that's really made any kind of impression here is Daniel Benefield, and he's going to go for it on Shepherd as well. That 9.5 Porsche is starting to make a case for a podium here.
So guys, I wouldn't count the podium too high right now. I've just come back from a visit to the Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports team, and as we know, they've got a few drivers in the race tonight. Notably Matty Dench, who's out leading in the 567 purple Porsche there that you got on screen, and also Connor Nixon in P12. So Connor tells me that he's absolutely despising his choice of the Porsche from Monza tonight, but he's going to tough it out. Matty in the front there. Well, mate, he is not out there trying to pull away. He is backing the field up to make sure that he is able to save fuel like everybody else. So there's a fair bit of strategy going on front and rear of this field, and I don't think we should count out anybody, and don't think that the current speed that we got at Matty Dench at the front is representative of what he's truly capable of. There's probably more in that Porsche ready to go.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's a matter of just holding station here for the first stint, right, David?
Pole was a minute 47 flat. Last lap for the lead is 1:48.6. So that says that they're about a second and a half away from pole pace. If anything, the weather conditions right now might be slightly cooler, slightly nicer. Those are those conditions. 20 in the air, 24 on the track, cloudy, wind still about the same from the southwest. So I think that would go along with the race leader isn't pushing 110% right now.
Yes, there's news coming in from race control. 2 10-second penalties. First for the 252 of Ruud Hoystra, and that was for the incident back on lap 6. And then a 10-second penalty coming in for Mark Foster for an incident on lap 9. Now, remember, Foster was clobbered into the first corner by Jamie Saxon. Something else, I think, happened on lap 9 to put Mark Foster in the auspices of race control. But, I'm going over it, and Jay is too. We can't find anything penalty worthy for Mark Foster, so not sure where that penalty's come from. Maybe they've given it to the wrong car.
Mark Foster sounded very bemused and wanted them to make sure of that as well. So maybe that's happened. There's just been a tiny bit of confusion.
Yeah, I mean, Foster was very clearly on the receiving end of a penalty-worthy incident on that lap. So, yeah, it looks like race control's just fixed it there as on board.
Bella.
Yep, Abella, once again, being one of the racier cars out there, getting a move done and finding himself making up a few more positions after taking his penalty. That was Daniel Coleman he just passed there, but race control, it seems, have reversed their decision there. Penalty now assigned to the 418 of Jamie Saxon, who was the aggressor in that incident with Mr. Foster. Meanwhile, here's a move.
Yeah, he'd been lifting and coasting in some previous laps. Now he stays in the throttle, tries to challenge down the inside into turn 1. Matthew Dench does not let him have it and takes it back at the second apex. Two of them just suddenly getting a little touchy-feely. Dean Mackay we're on board with right now, super close to all of that as it unfolds. It's just sort of running the sums on a 65% fuel tank size that first stop can't be too far away. Adam Wright would like to lead, but Matthew Dench, sometimes at Monza you would give up the lead, but Dench is not going to.
Yeah, quite some hard defense there from Matthew Dench. Adam Wright offered no quarter there in his attempt for the lead. So things getting a little bit interesting here. They're starting to show their hands a little bit here in the top 6. But how it's going to work out come the first pit stop, we still have no idea.
Yeah, hey guys, I just dropped back. I had a couple of chats with a couple of guys in the top 6. Now I won't share their names because one of the comments was just sitting here cruising, having a dart while we're driving and just maintaining with the group, right? So
Gee, I wonder which one that sounds like at the top 6.
There's some guys that are sitting pretty comfortable in the top 6 right now. I think they're all aware that they're not racing at race pace. I think this is a top 6 that is playing cat and mouse. And given that it's a cat and mouse game, given that we know that there's going to be a bit of a fuel game to come into this, we're 23 minutes into the race. I reckon we've got about half tank right now. So we're at about another 20 minutes worth of this playing out. And I don't think any of these are willing to really show their hands yet until probably at least if there's a hint of rain, but as we said, I don't think that's going to happen. Or they're just going to stay together and keep drinking whatever they're drinking, smoking whatever they're smoking, cruising whatever they're cruising, and it's going to play out in the last 30 minutes. So we have got a good old-fashioned endurance race tussle on our hands.
Exactly what we like to hear.
Russell Pepperell's the most positions gained inside of the top 10 now, and I think he just moved past Jackson Dials is back with the leading group, and you can just spot Ethan Bass and Ben Wood 7th and 8th in the background of some of these shots. As the advantage that the top 6 has over the rest of the field certainly has stabilised a little bit, no longer pulling away as far on track as they were.
Got a incident that's come in there for Isaac Curtis, a 25-second penalty. So whatever happened on lap 9 there, which that incident is from, that was a decidedly egregious incident. So I'll keep my eyes peeled here. Jay's looking, I'm looking, and certainly Curtis was involved in a tussle in turn 1. It looks like that was it. So Curtis seems just came as Logan Murphy comes into the pit lane. It looks like it was a consequence of the incident between Jamie Saxon and Mark Foster. After that happened, drivers were checking up behind, and it seems that Isaac Curtis came steaming into the first corner. And Patrick Reardon, checking up, was hit by him, and that's what Race Control have assigned that penalty for.
Had quite a few hit callers. Getting another one is least the time one.
Early pit stops here, probably for drivers who haven't had someone to draft with and save fuel from. So they haven't had the opportunity to extend the stint. This is the onboard here from the 911 of Isaac Curtis. You see the checkup happening, and he comes into turn 1. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument that he should have been more aware of the 48 checking up and potentially turning in late, but at the same time, he would have had the right to attack turn 1 at that point, and things probably happened a bit too quickly.
Bit of movement from a car about to go a lap down. Mark Foster or Normanson.
He's running down in 32nd place, actually. Came into the pits 8 laps ago. And I believe he may have had some damage as well. Probably one of the cars that has been involved in some of the biff and baff down low. Back up to the battle for 7th. Ethan Bass still keeping Ben Woods behind him. These 2 Mustangs have been flying in formation for a while. And keep an eye on their lap times because they are running quite fast here. It seems like the pace has increased up at the front of the field. Dench doing a 1:47.9. Same for Adam Wright in second as well. But Mackay, Benefield, Shepherd, Donaldson, they're still running in the 148s. And these guys making up a couple of tenths on them on the previous lap.
Hey boys, this was really, really interesting. I was just in the AITT pit, and there's a big group of drivers in there, right from P10 down to P everything. The guys in there, like they're having a good time. But the interesting thing to me was they, one, still hoping out for rain. As we said, we don't think it's coming. But two, just before I left, they've made the call that Matty Dench out front has just put the foot down. And so that's going to be interesting. Let's see if his lap times come down. They've made that call from either a spotter or a driver in their team. So that's something interesting. And none of that group is in that top six. So something to look out for.
Okay, so Matthew Dench is increasing the pace. Very interesting to see. Well, now, I think, David, that might tell us a little bit about what the plan is from here on out. Maybe Dench was driving to a number in the first half hour of this race. Is he gearing up for a pit stop here?
So, boys, we just got a safety car call. There is a car just at the exit of Mascari. I think it's Logan Murphy has just come on the inside of the exit of Mascari there, and we've got a safety car. So we're going to see, I think, everybody coming for pits, and this race will reset. Turn one becomes interesting.
And pit lane lights up with 90 minutes left. The whole leading pack coming in, and this will make it a 3-stop race by all accounts. If you've saved lots of fuel, then this stop here might let you jump some position and be first out. Anyone staying out? The answer from first through to 15th at the moment is no. We still keep an eye on it. Matthew Dench was, of course, the first into the lane. He might well be the first out of the lane.
Oh, that's close.
Adam Wright once again.
Oh, just half a car length. Matthew Dench had over Adam Wright there. Wright was actually the first to get out of the box there. 22.4 seconds on my timing, and that is a solid 7 tenths that he had over Matthew Dench just on the pit stop. So he was doing well to save like he did. But of course, they have to bring the pace back down. Scott Butt in there in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4. Used as the safety car for this series, and there's no missing it with that bright fluorescent sort of limey paint job on it.
Okay, boys, I'm going to earn me dollars. Who do you want to have a chat to under safety car? I'll see if I can find them and get them for you.
I reckon we should try and get our leader just to see what the plan is as we see what happened to Logan Murphy there. Unfortunate spin. Yeah, if there's anyone else that we can think to talk to, David, sing out.
Ask Daniel Benefield, do you think your power feels more reliable now than last race?
Well, looks like we do have Matthew Dench here with us. Thanks to Peter for grabbing him. So leading for the most part of this race, Matthew. You were seemingly driving to a number and then picked up the pace right before that safety car was called. Was there any alteration to your plan thanks to that safety car call, or were you intending to pit then anyway?
We just came in once that safety car was going to get called. But yeah, we're just trying to back up just a little bit, see if we get some teammates to close the gap and catch back up. But it looks like they weren't able to keep up. So yeah, we just started to drive a bit quicker, see if we could drop anyone. But looks like these guys are on pace here tonight, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking like another 2 stops to get to the end here with the fuel tank restriction. But if there is another safety car, and you know, if you're able to potentially find someone to draft with, then you could potentially stretch the fuel tank a little bit longer. Do you have any clues as to what your plan might be for the race to come?
We'll just sort of take it as it comes, but if it starts raining, we might be in for a bit of trouble because I haven't done any practice laps on rain, so that'll be pretty interesting.
All right, well, we'll see how you go holding off that battle in the top 6 there, Matt. Thanks very much for joining us, and best of luck to come.
Thank you.
Matthew Dench there, and tell you what, Peter, David was curious to maybe have a chat to Daniel Benefield as well.
All right, let's see how it goes. See if I can get him in.
All right. We shall see as waiver rounds begin here under safety car. First driver to go by, Kurt Normanson. We still have Logan Murphy and Trent Allen in the pits, and it doesn't look like they'll be coming out anytime soon. Allen's been in there for 13 and a half minutes. Scoreless, the next driver to get that wave around, David. And, well, I have to say he's very lucky to have been in the position for that wave around, because we saw that car in pieces earlier.
Yeah, and I think those are the only drivers, as you've covered off, that we should expect to get a wave around. Not many cars had gone a lap down in the first 30 minutes, except those that were significantly damaged. Even a few drivers that had served penalties were not even at risk of going a lap down. Sam Sproul and James Abella are scored as having been through pit lane twice by having served their penalty and then pitted under safety car and remained on the lead lap. So they'll be pretty pleased with that. Got at least a lap more of safety car here as it leads the field through the first chicane.
Hey boys, I'll tell you what, we can't get Day in the penalty field. How about we drag Dean Mackay in for a quick chat?
Go on then. Mackay joins us on the line.
Hello.
Inside of that top six seems like it's just critical to be part of that leading group in that first phase of the race.
Yeah, definitely. It's not much is happening right now. Just trying to save fuel. It's the main game at the moment.
As far as car choice goes, it seems like the Porsche eating up some of the high curbs in the chicanes better than some of the others.
Oh yeah, it's great in the curbs. But yeah, it lacks a bit of straight line compared to some of the other cars. I was quite surprised when the front row was both Porsches. But doing alright so far, so we'll see. See how it goes.
And what does this safety car change about strategy? Obviously, you were part of a top six that was a nice breakaway. A couple of quick drivers that might latch onto the draft again on the restart.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but strategy doesn't really change much. I think by the time the safety car here it ends, it sort of matches up when we were going to pit anyways. So everyone's kind of now on the same strategy.
Plenty of racing
Boys,
left.
I
Good
think
luck.
Dean's going to get ready to go back to racing. So Dean, we'll throw you back up to your team, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Yes.
Indeed. Saying goodbye to Dean Mackay as
You notice
find
I
our
didn't
way
ask
to
him-
Ascari.
Didn't ask him about his incident points.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he'd give us a clear answer either way anyway.
Yeah. What's the saying? Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies.
Well, to be honest,
Yes.
boys, he's got 7 incident points so far, right? And we're 35 minutes into the race. He's by far not the worst. The worst right now is Mark Foster in P23, 13 incident points. Jamie Saxon on 11, and Andrew Scordilis on 12. So, and Scordilis he was the guy who just took. So, I think Dean Mackay's probably just hiding a couple of fast laps with incident points, but I don't think he's going overboard.
Fair enough. Well, we make our way to Parabolica, and safety car pulls away from the field. Bartine brings it in, and Matthew Dench will control the start once more as we get things going.
A couple of big gamers then
First
to keep an
restart.
eye on. Russell Pepperell started 15th. He's now running 10th, and of course now he's with the leading pack of racers. Brad Coates started much further downfield. He's plus 11 positions. Tommy Wallace is plus 9. There's a couple of drivers that maybe got their qualifying wrong, were no longer part of the leading pack, maybe thought their hopes were done. Well, they're back in this, some of them even back inside of the top 10. Matthew Dench crawling at 80 k's an hour until the green flag waves. He can begin to pull out a line, and Tim Mackay looks like he's got a pretty decent jump on Dylan Shepherd there. They'll be side by side, heading down towards turn 1. You can't fault Matthew Dench's race start. You can't fault his restart. So our whole pack goes from single file to down into the braking zone at turn 1. Double file, 3 wide in some places. Pretty tidy overall. This is the view of that sometimes treacherous first chicane.
A couple of drivers up the back having to have a few goes at turning in for the first corner. Matthew Dench still holding on to that solid lead, but Shepherd under massive pressure from Dean Mackay here. They've got to try and pick their line coming into Della Roggia, and Shepherd is ahead. He has the luxury of choosing the line into the corner, and he'll keep that position for now. Massive curb usage once again from the Porsches there, as the gravel is being kicked up by just about everybody. That exit of the second chicane is one of the places where you're going to see a lot of that dust being kicked up. They love to push the limits around this back half of the circuit.
Certainly looks a little bit more pacier than it did in the mid-phase of the last run, where there was some fuel saving, maybe some tyre management going on. Now everyone knows this is an opportunity to gain a couple of positions. Safety car, 10 to 15 minutes of the clock, and will have saved them some fuel. So it does check out that they're racing now out when they would have stopped if it had remained green. Oh, is that Nixon getting super sideways and through the gravel? Exit of Ascari. Russell Pepperell, Tommy Wallace go back. Connor Nixon and the Mercedes drop a few positions heading down towards Parabolica.
And so Nixon now a little boxed in on the way into the last corner here. We were talking quite a bit about how the Porsches handle those anti-cut curbs really well. It is clear that the Mercedes does not. Connor Nixon went on a wild ride there. He hit one, then he hit another, and went for a massive slide. Very lucky to keep the car going straight. Down into the first corner though. 413, Dean Mackay losing the position there to Eli Donaldson, and now Ethan Bass might want to have a go at him. Safety cars really helped that Mustang duo of Bass and Woods to get further up to the fight. Another trip through turn one, another trip through the Curva Grande. And Mackay is looking to try and fight back here up the inside of Donaldson up at Della Roggia, but nothing to be done versus the McLaren there.
Yeah, the McLaren holds firm, and you've almost got a top four breakaway here of Dench, Wright, Benefield and Shepherd. The battling between Donaldson and Mackay has cost them both pretty seriously. Look at how much closer Ethan Bass and Ben Woods and Adam Jepson and Jackson Dial have got. What's a second and a half? That is how much curb they like to take through the second chicane.
Yeah, see how little Shepherd takes there in the Audi. He's barely touching the sausage curb, but Dench and Benefield all over it. Mustangs seem to be doing all right over it as well, but then two-wheeling it in the 200 of Jackson Dial there. Love seeing those slow motion shots of cars pounding over the curbs here. The battle's still on though for fifth place. Ethan Bass going to try around the outside of Parabolica, but Mackay protects the inside, and Bass not quite able to get the over-under started there, but he's going to have the slipstream all the way down the start-finish straight to start the 21st lap here with 1:19 on the clock. And the inside is open. Mackay has left the door open for Ethan Bass, and this could be a top 6 here for the Mustang, just for the time being. Drawn alongside to the braking zone. Who's bravest on the brakes? It is Mackay. He's going to try and hold the outside through turn 1, becomes the inside for turn 2, and Bass has to leave some space there that Ben Woods immediately slips into.
And gee, what does he think about it? Says the headlight flash, but he'll get boxed in. What Mustang's one side, Mustang's the other if he's not careful. There's almost a little bit of Mustang door-to-door contact there. Chaz Mostert, Cam Waters, is that you?
Oh, interlocking wheels, contact again. Bass having to clamber over the curb there to stay out of the way of Ben Woods. Of course, Ethan Bass is at a bit of a disadvantage here. He is, of course, a Scotsman. He is racing from Scotland, and so he has a ping and latency disadvantage to everyone else here. Any contact is a little bit of a gamble for Ethan.
And the boys, a little headlight flash is something that intrigues me. There's been a whole lot of discussion in the Premier Endurance League in between rounds about whether the headlight flash is something that is in or out. And I know there's been discussion about ruling it completely out and as an unfair tactic. So Ethan obviously chose to use it there, probably to demonstrate some displeasure, not as a tactic to put somebody off, but yeah, the old headlight flash in Premier Endurance League. I think we might read more about it between rounds.
sort of fully up to racing speed after that safety car. Almost looking like a top 3 breakaway now. With some of these Porsches, when they have to go flat out, flat chat, maybe don't seem to have the pace. Mackay in dropping now 4.5 seconds away from the lead, getting eaten up and beaten on by a few of these Mustangs down the inside. Oh, there is going to be a tiny bit of contact sneaking through on the both. Oh, now they're out in the gravel.
Oh, no.
Fenders interlocked.
Ah, it's a shame, and Ethan Bass making his feelings obvious on that one. More penalties have come through from race control. We saw a black flag for Andrew Scordalis for overtaking before the start-finish line, and a 5-second penalty for car 48 of Patrick Reardon, causing an incident, I believe, at turn 1 on lap 19. And I think race control might be alerted to a few goings on in the area of Ethan Bass and Ben Woods. Now they've fallen to the last couple positions in the top 10 under pressure from Russell Pepperell.
Something there's a bit of feeling. Here is a look at it. So Bass gets down the inside of Woods. He's fully alongside, and then there's a little bit as they get to the first apex, trying to go around the outside. He says, nope, you're going out there. They both lose some positions. I thought that was pretty fair from Bass.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I mean, yeah, it looked like a bit of a dive, but there was space, and he was able to keep it alongside and make the apex of the first corner. Probably would have been able to go wide at turn 2 if he needed to. And certainly Ben Woods had the 3 wide to think about, and that's why he went off. But
Donaldson losing positions, and this is why he was just in behind Dylan Shepherd. He gets a massive lunch of the curbs, and he just keeps it off the wall. But basically effectively slow down there as he perhaps damages his car in the under tray slightly and then loses a lot of speed down the next straight. He gets swallowed up by a couple of cars, and that top 3 breakaway is becoming super, super real. Donaldson is going to stay behind Dial into turn 1, who fends him off for the moment. The weather forecast updates every 15 minutes. It's just updated to reduce the likelihood of rain yet further.
yeah, it looks to me like we're not going to be seeing much of any rain at all. So, all the same, clouds still proving a factor here. It's a lot of curbs still there for the McLaren, and you know, you got to think about how the anti-cut is going to affect the floor of the car as well. The McLaren sits a bit lower down than the others as Ben Woods gets up the inside of Eli Donaldson at Lesmo. Ethan Bass right there to take advantage as well. That is a position there for both of the Mustangs, but now they're going to be side by side again. Ben Woods and Ethan Bass, no love lost between these two, side by side into Ascari. This could be interesting.
Car on the outside with the nose in front. It is on the outside and they make contact again. They're both through the gravel again and they skip out to the far side. Ben Woods loses out. Ethan Bass loses a little bit, but not as badly.
Oh, man. Looked like that was bound to happen. You know, you get pushed like that. I mean, Ben Woods, he turned in and he sailed over those anti-cuts. The car unsettled and he just went right into Ethan Bass there. That's what happens when you try to go side by side into Ascari. Obviously not the greatest of circumstances for those two, but they are still holding on to their positions in and just outside the top 10. Another shot of that curb usage from these cars. You saw the Porsche clambering all over, but the Audi of Dylan Shepherd just barely touching it, and there's the McLaren going all the way over it. As I said, it sits lower than the other cars, so there's potential there for Eli Donaldson to be dealing with some floor damage from that.
So Ben Woods gets a 10-second penalty for the incident on lap 22. That was the first one, and perhaps we might hear a little more from that. We still think there's going to be another 2 stops potentially. So here's the repeat now. Around the outside, Ethan Bass had his nose in front into the braking zone. They were pretty well level going in.
I guess the question would be, did Ben Woods have room to get safely through the corner there with Ethan Bass on the outside? Another angle might have to be appropriate.
Mass gave room to the inside. Woods didn't give room to the outside.
We'll see how that is judged as further on back. This number 200 car of Jackson Dial has been slowly climbing his way through into the top 10, and he's got Adam Jepson for close company here coming into the final corner and gets the move done very nicely. The Porsche looks pretty strong here at Monza. The Acuras, of course, have been struggling. Most of the cars we've seen with big incidents have been Acuras. See if Adam Jepson will be able to fight his way through. Watch the curb on the inside here. So Bass turns in, Woods turns in too, but I think Woods was trying to compensate for Bass being on the outside there. There was just so much curb that he took. It was too much for the balance of his car.
And it's another further 5 seconds for car 99, Ben Woods. Race control has been busier than I'd like, you'd like, they'd like, but you know, better they look and take action than nothing happen. But better we have clean racing that doesn't need intervention in the first place. And with that, who's there?
That's Mackay! Dean Mackay! He's gone for a spin! Has it been a spin? Has it been contact? What on earth went on there? Dropping down the order. He was running in 5th at the time. Now he's got some big damage to the front splitter of that car. It looks like he just came into the second chicane way too hot.
So he's in behind Dylan Shepherd, the top 3 breaking away. I think he touches the grass on the right-hand side, and then he elects to cut. And it's the first curb we've seen the Porsche eat and get indigestion from.
Yeah, that's a back-breaking hit to those curbs. So Mackay with some huge under tray damage potentially from that one, and the TriStar 413 will be compromised now. Monza's one of those tracks, you know, such long straights, such high speeds, you need to make sure that your car's aerodynamically sound, and carrying even a little bit of damage can make the difference here. As a little bit further up, Brad Coates, 16th at the moment, got Jamie Saxon for close company, and he's missing his entire front end there.
And all of his headlights and the works. So probably... No, he didn't have a meatball flag for that, but I'm sure he knew the kind of damage he had and that he was struggling with. He had a 6-car breakaway. I thought, okay, safety car's going to bring it back together. Wrongo. It's let everyone sort of pick the pace up. It's all gone out the window. You have just a top 3-car breakaway with Matthew Dench, Adam Wright, Daniel Benefield, and Dylan Shepherd's all on his lonesome since that issue that we saw for Dean Mackay. Adam Jepson and Jackson Dial we saw swapping some positions. A little bit of drama. Woods ran wide through the second Lesmo.
That is where the McLaren lost the front splitter. That's a shame. A little bit of side-by-side between the OPR Mustangs there that took the front end off of Brad Coates, but he's been in the pits, he's gotten that car repaired, and he's back out, albeit all the way down in 31st place, still on the lead lap though.
Yeah, so we saw the length of the racetrack, more than 5 kilometres. It is a little tough to fall off the lead lap here at Monza unless you've got absolutely critical damage. An unplanned pit stop will keep you on the lead lap, and then a safety car brought a few others in and got them a wave around, and most of the field remains on the lead lap. Not to the halfway point yet, but it's not too far away. Matthew Dench, Adam Wright, Daniel Benefield. I think a couple of those positions that Benefield fought for before the safety car have paid him off well, because if he'd restarted the race in 7th or 8th, this top 2 might have gotten away from him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I called it out when Benefield was making those moves, because I mean, yeah, it is a long race, and moves earlier on don't always make a difference further on down the line. But the way this has turned out, Benefield has put himself in a very good position. He now has a double draft off the top 2 here. They're still pushing through the gravel traps, but Benefield in the right spot here. He can sit behind, he can save fuel, he can potentially do something different with his strategy still to come. Let's move back down through the field. Ethan Bass to 8th spot there, chasing down Eli Donaldson, and number 22 of Connor Nixon, championship leader. Not the best of rounds for him here after 2 good rounds to start off the season. Let's see what he can do to find his way past Tommy Wallace here.
So, Jets, I heard you talking about the Acuras and finding trouble tonight. I've just come out with a chat with Adam Jepson, and he certainly has conceded that the Acura doesn't have the pace to stay with the top 3. So he's doing the best he can to stay in it for as long as he can. But yeah, it's a clear 1, 2, 3. It pulled out after that safety car. The thing that's standing out to me is that Adam Dent still hasn't got into the 47s. A few of the guys, in fact, probably most of the top 10 behind him have got into the 47s at some stage in the race. But Matty Dench's fastest lap is still a 48.08. So I think Matty might still have something in his back pocket. However, as the car that's out the front and punching the air with the others 2 saving behind, he's probably going to need whatever that is he's got in his back pocket.
Connor Nixon gets just a little bit of a bump from Samuel Sproul on their way into the braking zone for the first chicane. A little bit of dramas further back here. 2 drive tyres in the dirt for Jamie Saxon, as Rue Koistra and Trent Stapleton are just ahead of him. Did have some people wondering how Koistra was going. Qualifying 4th, he was much deeper in the field. He was back up to 15th. I think the safety car has probably not hurt him too badly.
No, I think the safety car actually probably was a bit of a saving grace there for Koistra, because it wasn't the cleanest first stint for him. 2 spins and a couple of incidents that were intertwined with all of that. So now Rue has a opportunity to get back on the wagon, so to speak. He is leading a pack for 15th place, but could potentially find his way further forward if he gets in the slipstream of Ben Woods. And speaking of Ben Woods, he's right there in front and in a bit of a draft pack himself. There's a bit of a no man's land ahead to Darcy Inwood, but Tommy Wallace is still up at the front of this this pack here. And Nixon having a little look at Parabolica, trying to make a campaign to move forward here, but it's proven very difficult for the 22.
Yeah, by all accounts, Mercedes looks like it gets decent traction out of some of the slow corners. The Mustang seems to pull a little more in the straight line. It's where Sproul and Woods get a little bit closer. Now Sproul looks down the inside on the front straight, and Nixon just lets him go, which is the smart longevity move here.
Yeah, I think at this point in the race, we're just about to get to the halfway point on time. You're still in preservation mode at this point if you're a driver like Nixon who came into this round leading the championship, not happy with the car choice. It hasn't worked out. And so if someone tries to make a move on you, if I was in his position, I'd let them go as well. I'd try to work towards something better towards the end here and just avoid getting into incidents, of which there have been many here tonight.
Biggest gainer in the field, I think, is Rick Provenzale.
Yes.
Plus 15, he runs 19th place at the moment.
Yeah, don't give him too much credit, boys. Ricky started from the back by purpose, so didn't qualify. I think the out of the guys that did qualify, you've got Isaac Curtis, who's up 12, currently running in P21, and you've got Tommy Wallace, who is up 11. Somebody just dropped down that was up 11. Tommy Wallace in P11, who's up 11. So they're guys who have got genuine positions from qualifying. I think Ricky's just jumped in the back in the field and seen it's gone. So let's not talk that up too much, I reckon.
Fair enough. Thanks, Peter. I heard a big thump and crash, and it was James Abella. He is now retired from the race, thanks to hitting those anti-cut curbs at Ascari. Pretty massive crash, actually. No one else was involved in it, but regardless, Abella, he, in spite of the penalty he had earlier, was making some good runs up through the field. And this, David, is how it ended for him.
Oh, yeah, so he gets the ones on the right-hand side there, and indeed, big crash. There's a kind of a reason that those ones don't actually exist anymore, and a few of the curbs have been reprofiled, a few of the places around here. It just takes it from, you know, anti-cut curbs and sausage curbs causing monumental incidents to it becoming race control's job to lap time deleted, and really strictly monitor things when you don't have big nasty curves in place. I'm sure Alex Peroni would be happy to not have big nasty curves in place. Weather update. Chance of rain in 15 minutes has gone from 1% to 3%. So, you know, back that horse, get in behind that. But the chance of rain in the next 30 minutes is up to 10%. So it's still slim, but increasingly possible.
Yeah, I'm occasionally glancing at the weather radar myself just to see if there's anything creeping up on it. There is still nothing for the time being. And have a look at the darkness, the pallor that has fallen over this racetrack at the moment. Those headlights will definitely be doing their job here. As Sam Sproul... As Sam Sproul chases down Tommy Wallace here, and his teammate Darcy Inwood might be helping him out here, blocking the advance of the 43. Around the outside goes the Mustang, becomes the inside, but, oh, okay, a little bit too much gravel there for the 43 Porsche, and it looks like Sproul might have a chance here for a move at De La Roggia. Connor Nixon with a front row seat to this action.
How dark it is, as you can see the car's headlights on the soundproofing around the edge of Curva Grande. Oh no, they're touched!
Oh no! Oh my lord!
Sproul's been into the wall, so the two of them touched on the way into the braking zone. Sproul spun across the nose and into the gravel, and Sproul is going to ask to tow.
Okay, well, he's near an opening in the fence, so we might go safety car free from this. Watch this. Sproul gets on the brakes and starts moving to the left. To the right, sorry. And the 43, I think, also moved a little bit to driver's left. So it seems sort of 50-50 to me of these two getting into each other in the braking zone. But regardless, I think a little bit more space needed to have been given in that situation.
Boys, as you know, I do a whole lot of race control, and I don't know, that one's on the fence for me. I think you're right. I think that's a bit of both involved, and potentially that'll come out as a no further action, safety car or not, if Sam's given the approval to tow from where he is.
I think we saw on board from Connor Nixon a sort of corner earlier where he was deliberately giving himself a spare car length to the battling that was happening in front, and it's for reasons like that. He correctly predicted something might happen here, but I need some reaction time too. And he is just in behind Ben Woods, having gained two positions as two guys in front of him collided. So that is real championship five-head stuff from Connor Nixon.
Yeah, Connor's been around the game in a lot of different forms of racing, not just GT3. He does a whole lot of supercar racing. I've done a whole lot of IndyCar racing on ovals and circuits with Connor, and so he's a wise head when it comes to racing. I'd never write him off.
Going to take a look again at Connor Nixon's perspective. So he gave them a tiny bit of space. He was watching side by side up in front, going, well, I'm looking to make it 3 wide. So why do I need to be on their bumper? And then the two of them go into the runoff, and he makes the corner. His two positions.
You can see also he was preemptively placing his car on an inside trajectory for the corner, just in case one of them came to a stop in the middle of the circuit there. Very smart driving. Well, Race Control have assigned one further penalty in the last few minutes, and it is for James Abella. He is not here in the server to receive it, but Abella did tow back to the pits without asking permission to do so from race control, and so it's been decided he's going to be starting from the back of the grid next round.
Didn't ask race control for permission, he just said ciao Abella.
Indeed, it wasn't very Bella, though, the way his race ended up going, so that's the confirmation up on the screen there as we turn our attention back to Eli Donaldson, who's had some dramas since the safety car, and still, in spite of it all, able to keep Ethan Bass behind him.
Yeah, both of them made a bit of a mess of the first chicane there. So Donaldson obviously got in a bit tight, bit of understeer, pushed wide. Ethan Bass sets himself up to try to go over-under, but Donaldson still parked at the second apex with how slow Donaldson was going. So no move happens as both of them lose a whole chunk of time, and maybe Bass clipped his front left a tiny bit. It was at super low speed, and I thought you probably should have gotten away with that. But again, for reasons of Scottish geography you've talked about before, maybe he's been a little unlucky with that.
Yeah, for sure. Still props to Ethan for flying the flag regardless. He's been quite active in sort of American and Australian leagues. He always was a fan of racing at odd times of the day for him. First came across him in a touring car series that was being run to American time zones, as it was like 2, 3 in the morning for him, but he did it regardless because he just loves racing that much. Dean Mackay, meanwhile, making up some positions. This is Rick Provençal, who of course started at the rear of the grid. Bit too early on the power out of Lesmo 1. That opened up the opportunity for Mackay to sweep through at Lesmo 2.
Yeah, there's a few quick drivers that are outside of the top 20 at the moment. Dean Mackay was at one point, now he's back to 15. We've also got Rook Hoystra, Stuart Shaw, and then a few of the other guys that are out of this race. There's a few drivers could come back a lot of positions in the back half of this race, and if there was another safety car, would be sort of in top 10 contention. Here's your leaders. It's still 3 of them. Benefield almost dropped away from the top 2 for a second. He's back. And we're looking at why
Isaac Curtis. Black flag. That can't be incident limit, surely.
There's been no shortage of slowdown penalties out there. So if you don't give one up in time, you could end up with a black flag. Ben Woods behind his teammate in front of Connor Nixon. His teammate runs super wide. Around the outside of him. Inwood drops back on their way to Kurt Grande. Not the first time actually we've seen Inwood kick up a little bit of gravel through the first chicane, and that's kind of almost what led to the second chicane incident that we then later saw.
Yeah, exactly. Monza very much an old school racetrack. Tarmac runoffs here. It's all gravel and grass beyond the limits of the racetrack and the curbs, so gotta be precise. Yeah, I think potentially that black flag for Isaac Curtis might be for not clearing a slowdown in time. That's the most likely explanation that I have, because surely you wouldn't have cracked 50 incidents by this point.
And he hasn't pitted in the last 17 laps. Unsafe pit entry, speeding in pit lane, unsafe pit exit are also possibilities for an iRacing issue black flag. Here he comes to try to serve and clear that what we believe to be an iRacing issued black flag drive-through penalty. There will be no black flags or further drive-through penalties for car 43. So between Tommy Wallace and
that was the incident that we it was the incident that we saw between himself and Sproul, yeah.
So, boys, for Isaac Curtis, he got a iRacing slowdown on the second chicane. He's just cut the second chicane, scored a field black flag. did not serve it in time, and therefore iRacing has thrown him the black flag to go into the pits as a result of that. So all of his own doing, a bit of a shortcut, and then didn't take his slowdown.
Ben Woods had one as well. That's him clearing it here. Rick Provençal has one as well that he's just cleared. So if you watch who's got a filled black flag slowdown penalty at any given point, the answer is almost always someone. There's a few of them going around. This is the kind of track that really does invite you to go deep in the braking zone for those chicanes, and occasionally you do end up cutting the first one, the second one, Ascari, whatever it may be.
So yeah, as far as incident points go, the worst at the moment is Dean Mackay on 22. Everybody else that's anywhere near that is probably mid to high teens. So Dean's leading the charge there. Still a long way from a 50-point drive-through. I think we'd be lucky to see a 50-point drive-through on incident points tonight.
So this is the longest green flag run of the race we've had, actually, now, because it was 16 before we had the first safety car. It's been 19 since everyone stopped under the safety car. So by about now, they've been running flat chat in green since that safety car, about as long as they were before it. 51 minutes left. We believe that GT3 fuel tanks last about an hour. They've got a 65% cap, so they should last about 2/3 of an hour, which is 40 minutes. So if anyone gets to 40 minutes to go and can stop, then I reckon they're a decent chance of making this a two-stop race. But I think...
Now remember, boys, the safety car was called. Safety car was called at 32 minutes in this race. So, and that's when nearly everybody came in and filled up for the pits. So what that has done is that has robbed the window that they had of opportunity to adjust the second pit stop, because essentially it's put everybody onto what I would suggest is a critical stop to the end of the race.
So right as we start thinking about it, Matthew Dench pits in. Adam Wright and Daniel Benefield go through the lead of the race. There's a Akari joining now a lap down that Adam Wright does not want to be impeded by as he goes through into the lead of the race. A chunk of other drivers are stopping now as well. I think this puts everyone still into splash and dash territory. They've done 20 laps. There's still 28 more to go after this. We're heading towards a 3-stop race based on the timing of that initial safety car, as Peter Baxter points out. And for the first time that I can think of, this separates Matthew Dench and Adam Wright as 1-2 in the lead of the race.
Yeah, indeed. So, question is, what will it take for Wright and Benefield to respond here? Are they going to respond right away and come into the pits at the end of this lap, or are they going to try and extend it just a little bit longer, get some more time there on a light fuel load, and potentially overcut Dench? Sorry. So there's your possibilities. Ferrari now punching the hole in the air here of Adam Wright. And yeah, a whole raft of cars.
Don't imagine they'll be able to overcut by more than 1 or 2 laps here, to be honest, with how many other cars. Some that had slipstream in that last phase also hitting this lap. Wright looks like he's pushing on hard because he's left Benefield about half a second behind. Benefield's struggling to keep up with the pace that Adam Wright is demonstrating right now, going flat chat as lead of the race, aiming for a little overcut. So with as many drivers as just pitted, expect the same or more this time, but don't expect Adam Wright, but do expect Daniel Benefield. Curious. This is very positive for Adam Wright. Are there many other Ferraris, or is this an Adam Wright special?
I reckon this is an Adam Wright special, boy. I got to tell you, I was going to call, as Adam Wright was approaching Parabolica, that there's not a chance that he would have saved 2 laps of fuel. So to be honest, I'm very surprised that he's saved that much fuel. What's going to happen now for the end of the race?
There is one other Ferrari in the field, Martin Lipsky.
Connor Nixon comes out of the pit lane alongside Rue Koistra, who cuts the first chicane. Now, Connor Nixon had lost a little bit of time because he overshot his pit stall. Then he's just been off the track in one of the Lesmos and continued. So a consistent drive for Connor Nixon has started slightly falling apart in this last lap or two. As we have the Daniel Benefield blend, Matthew Dench has undercut him, not an overcut in the opposite direction. You see works for Adam Wright, who's the only car left that hasn't made a second pit stop. Some other drivers that look to have jumped some spots through this pit phase. Well, you almost have to wait and see. Jackson Dial side by side with Adam Jepson coming off the first chicane. Eli Donaldson in just behind them. Looks like Ethan Bass has jumped a few spots with a quick stop. He might have taken his required fuel load and cut it into 2 equal portions rather than fill the tank now and have a splash and dash later. But if you fill the tank now and there's a safety car, you might get to the end without another stop. Drama's heading into turn 2, a bit of a squeeze here, Reese.
Yeah, very much so. Donaldson getting ahead of Jepson there, and Jackson Dial says run away as Adam Wright says time to pit. So 2 laps longer on that stint than Matthew Dench. Is that going to be enough to try and challenge him for the lead here? I will say that, yes, it may seem like Dench undercut Benefield, but Benefield was some second and a half slower through the lane than Dench was. Took a little bit more fuel at the stop. So now Dench makes his way through Parabolica. Adam Wright is probably targeting a 20 to 22 second pit stop here. Will this work out for him here? Wait for him to come off the jacks. Wait for him to finish fueling the car. This is a long stop here for Adam Wright. And he gets going now as Dench goes back through into the lead. Now what that tells me is that Adam Wright has taken more fuel at this stop. He'll be able to go even longer. But it's still going to be a splash and dash at this point, I think, David. We've still got 45 minutes to go.
Yeah, so even that mammoth stint just then from Adam Wright was 22 laps, some of them behind safety car dramas and significant damage. Really significant damage for Adam Jepson.
That was a dangerous moment there, going across
really
the track
early in
leading
the
to the
lap.
Parabolica.
Oh, no, it's not. It's late in the lap.
About as late in the lap as you can get, while still being able to go back into the pits. So what exactly happened to him? He's already carrying some damage, already in Struggle Town. And, the rear of the car goes and the front bumper was already gone. So I think Jepson was carrying some damage from earlier that just compounded there in the fastest corner on the track.
Looks like the bodywork damage was from earlier. The suspension damage was done then, but there was clearly already some problems. So he started the lap in third and then, surprise, surprise. Oh, actually, no, just runs a tiny bit wide, gets half a tyre on the gravel while he still has steering lock in. If he'd opened up the steering and gone straight through the gravel, probably wouldn't have snapped on him. If he'd been on the track, wouldn't have snapped on him. But it's that awkward dip half a tyre right as you've got the car fully loaded that has bitten him big time. Now the time's good as any as well to tell you to look at the live timing. So that's in the YouTube chat and other places because it can really help you decipher some of what's going on. We'll show the pit stop times on the timing column on screen as well because that so important. We said you're not going to make it to the end. You're going to need a splash and dash. Well, the drivers know that. So some of them take 20 seconds of fuel now and 15 seconds of fuel later. Some of them are going to take 28 seconds of fuel now and 8 seconds of fuel later. It's on the timing screen there. 20 seconds of fuel for Dench, 22 seconds of fuel for Benefield, 28 seconds of fuel for Adam Wright. It's broken them apart. There's no slipstream for Benefield or Wright, but they know if there's a safety car or Matthew Dench needs a longer final stop, they're going to jump in sometime between now and the checkered flag.
So we set ourselves up here. Nice.
So here's the thing you haven't picked up yet, boys. The top two who had the shorter fuel stops, 20 and 22 seconds, and if they know they're coming in for a third stop, then have they short fueled then to be able to grab another set of tyres in case there's a late race safety car? Because that is a significant advantage, right, if you can have another set of tyres. Whereas if you've done a 28 second and you've filled to the brim with the fact that you're only going to come in and do a 3 to 5 second or whatever, maybe a 10-second fuel stop, you're not taking tyres. So you are on the end of this race on the tyres that you're on. In some ways that's good, because we know that when you put tyres on these cars, they come on cold. They don't come on preheated like we see in Formula One. They come on cold and it takes a lap or two to warm them up. And at Monza, first chicane, second chicane, we've seen all the danger that can happen. new tyres could be a high risk for P1 and 2 if that's the strategy that they're taking.
Speaking of
replay
risk,
Rue Koistra and Connor Nixon. Rue Koistra has left enough space to Connor Nixon to not clip him as they go through the chicane, but then the third car in line with the checkup, bowling ball strike, knocking the pins over, just puts a tiny shot to Rue Koistra's bumper that shoves him forward into the rear quarter of Connor Nixon. And we also then look at Donaldson getting too much curb through the second chicane for poor Connor Nixon. And even Rue Koistra, I think, has done everything right there. But four cars heading into that choke point and massive concertina at turn one. The third and fourth cars pushed the second car into the first car, sent two drivers out into the gravel. And those two drivers didn't do a whole lot wrong.
no, yeah, Nixon obviously frustrated, and I understand, but yeah, it seems that it wasn't entirely Koistra's fault, if at all. So, it's been a disastrous round, it turns out, for our championship leader. Nixon now back down to 17th place. He was steadily climbing up the field all the way through, but now he's back to square -1. He's a position down from where he started the race.
Another driver who's appeared much further up the timing column, Brad Coates, plus 17 positions on my timing. But he had a pretty short most recent stop. He's on a different cycle to the rest of them. Gravel dust in the air. Wear your respirators around there if you're spectating there, Pete. With this sort of struggle for Connor Nixon, you can get to estimated live championship points as well. Remember, Reese, Nixon had a very small margin at the top of the field coming into this race.
Oh yeah, very small indeed. So I think undoubtedly we're going to be seeing some jigging around of the championship standings coming into the fourth round of the series upcoming. It turns out this has been quite a significant night for Premier Endurance League, the Gamer Gear Direct Open GT3 Endurance Series. So, looking here at Ben Woods, who's been no stranger to the drama in this race, and neither is Brad Coates, the McLaren ahead of him. Woods sticking the nose out there. I'm always amazed at the variety of GT3 machinery. The Mustang so much taller than the McLaren. But of course, that doesn't mean that the McLaren can't biff a Mustang off there. I think Ben Woods might have potentially started that as well. Almost runs into his teammate on the exit of turn one. Oh dear, it's far from ideal.
Very, very far from ideal. And these McLarens, I mean, they must be attaching the nose with the same clips that the Mustang attaches the rear diffuser. That's another one we've seen come off. Why am I? So, a few things to digest. 40 minutes to go. I think anyone who stops now, we're at that critical lap number, and I don't expect Matthew Dench, Daniel Benefield, or Adam Wright to look to put themselves in traffic any earlier than necessary. We've set up a situation where the driver in the lead of the race is going to have a bigger stop to pay at the final time through. Daniel Benefield will perhaps get a second or two closer. Adam Wright, for me, that's the wild card here. He's got a 7-second faster stop, so 7-second longer stop than Matthew Dench, which should translate to a 7-second shorter stop later on, and he's 7.9 seconds behind the lead. The gap between first, second, and third, they're sort of racing each other by proxy here. If Wright can save a little bit of fuel but still close the gap to the top two, then he puts himself into a really, really good position. I said critical lap number, and Jackson Dial is in.
Okay, so 38 minutes on the clock, and the 200 is in for the third time in this race. Didn't make it too long there from the previous pit stop. He's decided that the previous stop was his splash and dash. So he takes that now. How long is the stop going to be? As the live points show, it in favor of Dylan Shepherd right now, 5th place running at the moment. And Ethan Bass, by virtue of 4th place, he's going to rocket up to 3rd in the championship from 5th if he finishes there.
Bass still has a longer stop to pay than quite a few of the drivers behind him, like Dylan Shepherd, Russell Pepperell, or even Darcy Inward. We wanted the weather to be something worth talking about. The thing is, in the next 40 minutes, I don't expect we're really going to get any rain. There's absolutely nothing on the radar that the wind could blow over in the next 20 or so minutes. The chance of some rain just after the checkered flag is still possible. We're looking all through the field at all of the battles everyone's having, knowing that 33, I think, GT3 started this race.
And we're about, we've just lost another one, which is interesting. Jackson Dial, who we saw coming into the pits. Oh dear, Ben Woods, just as we received the news of a 10-second penalty for him with the incident at the first chicane, having a problem at Ascari as well. This has been a tough one for Woods. He's done it all to himself. Not only has he gotten a 10-second penalty for causing an incident, he's also gotten a 5-second penalty for an unsafe re-entry. And well, the curbs at Ascari strike again, a little bit of a slide, and the gravel trap finished the job. But Jackson Dial, we saw him come in just a few moments ago, and it turns out that was actually him retiring the car. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, because Dial's car looked all right, and he was running in the top 10 solidly, but he's gone.
Boys, that's a hardware issue. Jackson was reporting that his headset was running out of power, and he didn't want to stay on the track without the noise that we get as sim racers and have an influence anyway. So he's pulled in the pits. He's done the right thing by absolutely everybody. Good on you, Jackson. He's pulled in the pits and he's pulled out of the race, so he hasn't impacted anybody. So a bit of a hardware issue, unfortunate for that. But hey, just come back out of the drop dead team. Matty Dench did in fact short fill, and he's got enough fuel space in his tank to do a side of tyres when he does come in. So you know, that is solid thinking through to the end of the race. Adam Wright, you know, as I said earlier, I haven't been able to talk to him, but Adam Wright with that full 28-second full tank, which looks consistent with all the others that went for a full tank, I don't think Adam Wright's got space to do any tyre changing. So maybe a little bit of strategy going on there, something that we're going to see play off after Splash and Dashes play out, boys.
Good info by Peter, thank you. Yeah.
I think also keep an eye on the time gaps at the moment, because Matthew Dench came out from his pit stop, so 2.5 seconds ahead of Daniel Benefield. It's now 5 seconds. Dench has put about a second into Adam Wright as well, so whatever Dench does at his final stop, what he's doing right now in this phase of the race where his key rivals aren't in his slipstream is just open up those gaps and put more pressure on them. His rivals are getting smaller in his mirror, so even if his stop is going to be longer, and even if he has opened up a couple more options for himself in that pit stop, he's also just putting more time between himself and his rivals. And this could be the stint that really seals it for Dench. We thought when he was leading the way, you know, you're giving fuel savings and lap time to your rivals in the tow behind you. Well, this is the stint where we've not, and they are losing time to the pace that Matthew Dench has got.
Indeed they are. Such an intriguing race as the sun comes out for the first time in a while. You actually see some light hitting these race cars. It's just coming up on 6:30 p.m. in sim time, and weather update. It's very little chance of rain. Most we're seeing within the time frame of the race is about 13%, coming up to 7 p.m. in sim time. That is in half an hour's time. It's going to be right at the end. But yeah, I think Peter's correct in his presumptions earlier. Very little chance of any precipitation.
What was 11% chance for 6:30 has become 4% chance, and is probably about to update to 0 because it'll be 6:30 and it's not raining. Therefore, if it's not raining right now, the chance of it raining right now is 0. Gap's continuing to extend. A pit stop for Stuart Shaw. See, does that look like it's going to rain? It doesn't really.
No. Of course, the
That
sun
looks like
is...
what it looks like in Queensland when it's just rained 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, so maybe there was rain, somewhere else in the region of the circuit, but decidedly not where we are. And if you think about the orientation of this track, as Dench here exits Ascari, he's actually heading southeast, or southwest, sorry. Heading southwest. As you turn back up to the start-finish straight, you are heading northeast. That's the orientation of the track, and so the sun setting, of course, it means that there's no clouds that have been coming in from the south or the west, as things stand. But we do see some solid cloud cover over which part of the circuit? That is the exit of Parabolica there. So there are clouds coming in from the east, but I'm not sure how the weather radar is going to interpret that if there's any rain yet to come.
I still look at it as 10% chance of rain means 90% chance of staying dry. So,
Yeah.
you're going to look at these percentages from both perspectives and make your mind up. So the thing that stands out to me, though, is what it's doing is it's keeping the track temperature low, and the ambient temperature is under 20 degrees. Track temperature has been 21.7 degrees now, so it's keeping it low, which is why we're seeing the fast laps that we're seeing, and that's also good for the tyre wear. So for those that are saving tyres, the low track temperature is going to help them be able to maintain a reasonable pace at the end of the race.
I choose to look at the rain gauge and say that it's half full instead of half empty. Through Koistra pits, and again approaching 30 minutes to go. This is definitely final pit stops for anyone who takes theirs now. I would be entirely confident we're within the critical lap number. Necessarily something that Matthew Dench wants to go for immediately. His gap to Daniel Benefield now out to 6 seconds. If anything, Daniel Benefield looked like he was in a decent position after his pit stop. It's faded a little bit, and certainly Adam Wright is in a stronger position. Matthew Dench still in the strongest position, which is he's leading the race. He's setting quick lap times, and he's got a little bit of strategy options open to him when his final stop comes around. And I also want to sort of keep an eye on his top times for Ethan Bass, where he could be.
Live point update.
Oh,
hello. Tie for the lead. Shepherd versus Mackay. Well then. This will really tighten things up going forward if they finish in this order.
Now, Shepherd and Mackay both took long stops. Shepherd is in 5th, just behind Ethan Bass. In 4th, he took a short stop. High chance that Shepherd jumps Bass into 4th, while Dean Mackay doesn't jump anyone. So when the last round of stops play out, if they play out how I think so, Shepherd gets a spot and Mackay doesn't, and it breaks the tie in favour of Dylan Shepherd.
That's the situation in the points. This is the situation on track. Ethan Bass had a rough lap last lap. Only did a 1 minute 50.2. Compare that to a 48.7 for Dylan Shepherd. So Ethan might be in a little bit of trouble here. He's been dealing with some slight damage on his Mustang for the majority of this stint, thanks to his run-ins with Ben Woods. Now Woods' teammate in the Audi chasing him down here. You can almost see the gap getting smaller in real time. We'll have to update you on lap times in just a few moments. But now Matthew Dench setting the pace at the front of the field. He's absolutely caning it. 148.1. Not too far off his overall fastest lap of the race, but Dylan Shepherd has the fastest lap of anyone at a 47.7. So you can tell that Audi is looking rather pacey. For Ethan Bass, crossing the line, 148.5. Shepard, another 148.5. So evidently that last lap was a bit of a blip for the 219.
Might have just gotten a bit out of shape. I think if you picked up a slowdown somewhere, you might lose just that second and a half clearing it. He's found his legs under him again. You got to look outside of the top 15 to find a battle on track, but there are a few, and this has been one of them.
This is Scordalis. And just going a bit wide there, and I'm hearing that he might have run out of fuel here. I mean, I can see a little bit of flame spitting out of the exhaust, and I think that might have been a downshift.
19 laps, so yeah, 19 green flag laps might be the limit of what he can do.
Yeah.
We were all waiting to see him hit the curb or something. He just starts to slow down through the Ascari chicane, and then slows down, and then slows down, and doesn't make it quite all the way to pit entry. Remember to know which button is your starter button, so you can hold it down in circumstances like this.
And I think another problem was he started running on the grass as well, which is further friction that the tyres have to deal with. It slows you down even faster. So unfortunate there for Andrew Scordalis. Brings it to a stop rather close to an opening in the fence, so was able to tow it back to pits without causing a safety car. Well, I'll tell you what, that last pit cycle worked out pretty well for Connor Nixon. 13 laps into the stint, he is up to 11th spot. Got Rick Provenzala behind him and chasing down Martin Lipsky. To my knowledge, the only other Ferrari in the field, which is currently running a lap or two down on the rest of the field. Lipsky staying tight out of Parabolica to let these guys go, and it looks like he might be going for the pit lane. That's interesting, because he only just came out of the pits.
He has a black flag, so maybe he got an unsafe pit entry, or he got speeding on pit lane, or he had cold tyres and he overshot and got a slowdown penalty that he didn't clear or something of that nature. So he got a couple of spots back. Could still find himself inside of the top 10 by the end of this one. Sort of sitting on my hands, twiddling my thumbs, waiting for this final pit stop window. And for Matthew Dench, he's probably going to be one of the first drivers that comes upon it. But for, say, Adam Wright, for example, he could probably go another 9 laps and take it to just 5 laps to go before his final stop comes up. What likely might happen before that is that Adam Wright catches Daniel Benefield, and Matthew Dench from the race league is in. 14 laps completed since his last stop, and now he's going to make his final stop. What he needs is this to be a pretty quick stop and to not put him in traffic that costs him time compared to his 2 rivals for the win, Daniel Benefield and Adam Wright, who both can stay out a little bit longer.
So that's 14 laps done on that stint for Matthew Dench, and my timing is telling me 14 laps to go for our leaders. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. Benefield still struggling a little bit for pace there. Adam Wright consistently running 3-4 tenths faster than him over the course of the last few laps. Dench's pit stop is complete, and it's only a 21-second stop for him. Ethan Bass is also in, and he was one of the drivers who we knew was going to owe us a little bit more on the pit stop time, but it's actually been rather quick for him. Only 18.5 seconds in the lane. So I reckon Ethan might have pulled a fast one here on the strategy.
Daniel Benefield stopped 1 lap after Matthew Dench last time and took 2 seconds more fuel. So he could probably go another lap longer beyond this point here. But again, don't be surprised if we see him in. You saw that lap times that Adam Wright has been just taking a little bit of time out of Daniel Benefield the last 3 laps. This is where Matthew Dench feeds back in, ahead of Darcy Inwood, ahead of Ethan Bass, and in 5th, behind Russell Pepperell. So really, there's been enough field spread that there's hardly any traffic at all for Matthew Dench. If that stop had put him into 15th or something, he could be in trouble. Benefield and Wright reacts immediately. It's going to have to be a really quick stop from Adam Wright, though, if he's going to come out ahead of Matthew Dench. Super curious what the pit stop times are going to be like for those two.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
don't
yeah,
forget.
waiting for that was Marty Lipsky. He did have a drive-through penalty, came off the speed limiter about 3 seconds too early coming out of the pits, sped in pit lane, and then had to come back through.
10
Give me the
seconds stop
info.
from Adam Wright. He's rolling once again. He's at the pit exit there, but at speed comes Matthew Dench. You can see him in the top and the bottom of your screen. Wright might be just ahead. Such a dramatic speed difference until the car on the racing line has to slow down in towards turn 1, but Adam Wright comes out ahead of Matthew Dench, what will become the net race lead. Daniel Benefield is 7 seconds behind this. So it's become a Wright versus Dench battle for the race win, with Dylan Shepherd and Russell Pepperell in front of them still needing one more stop.
Yeah, don't forget, Adam Wright had the longest pit stop of just about anyone on the second pit cycle. So he had already paid off his debt before it was time for the bill to be due, as it were. So he was only able to just put a tiny little bit of fuel in the car and get a much quicker pit stop as a result. Benefield, on the other hand, 19.8 seconds. I mean, that's still a quicker pit stop than Matthew Dench, but it's not ideal for him, you know, considering, yeah, that's really odd that he has lost so much time there, because it's showing for me as 40.8 seconds through the lane. That's, yeah, round about what we'd expect, but I didn't expect him to be this far behind. I think his pace just wasn't up to scratch there in the second stint. Regardless, battle for the lead is on, and this time it's the Ferrari ahead.
Adam Wright hasn't been able to close in on the back of Russell Pepperell here. He maybe short-filled himself a little bit and needing to engage in savings. It was that last stint where Wright and Dench had clean air pace that Daniel Benefield didn't have, and that's where he's lost a decent chunk of that time. This is a tough position to be in for Adam Wright, because he's not really battling Russell Pepperell, but if push comes to shove, he might have to in the next couple of laps. Stapleton stops. And this is a look at the live points. Yes, indeed. Dylan Shepherd still has to stop, though.
Yeah, indeed. So does Pepperell here up in front of our effective leaders. There's Shepherd at the moment, and he has got quite a gap over them, but it's not going to be quite enough, I think, for him to get much closer to Wright and Dench. Current gap to Wright is 15 seconds, and a pit stop delta is, you know, anywhere from 15 to 30, upwards of 40 seconds even. So Shepherd may not be in contention for a podium here.
Wright
But
making some pretty significant fuel savings right now.
yeah,
Came out of the second Lesmo, had an opportunity to have a run at Russell Pepperell, sort of cracked it to about 90% throttle very early in the straight, then had a big coast into Ascari. Now, these are places you don't expect your rival to try to pass you, so he doesn't have such a big lift into Parabolica or the chicanes, but anywhere he thinks he can save and not give up the track position to Matthew Dench, he's doing it. And perhaps it's even helping him for the moment that Russell Pepperell stays out.
Well, boys, I think that Adam Dench has got a 3-second fuel advantage on Adam Wright right now. Adam's going to have to save fuel to get to the end. I suspect what Adam's done is he's actually short filled to get track position here to be able to get out in front, but he might pay for that by the end of the race.
Parked himself defensively into the first chicane, so Adam Wright stays ahead. It's going to take a lot of work, and Matthew Dench by now obviously understands what the game is. He's seen that he doesn't need to worry about Daniel Benefield anymore. He knows everyone else further in front is going to have to stop again, Dylan Shepherd and Russell Pepperell. The battle will be between Wright and Dench. Dench is getting great info right now, watching how Adam Wright is approaching this.
There's a good exit from Lesmo too. Of course, got to remember that they are technically racing Russell Pepperell for position right now. Pepperell is not a lap down. He is on the same lap as these guys right now, and there is a right to the track, a right to defend your position as well. Here comes Shepherd to the exit of Parabolica. Does he come in the pits this time? He does not. He's been taking that wide trajectory out there for quite some time. He's been out there for 18 laps now, and that's around about the point where we'd expect the fuel to start getting a bit fumy.
Yeah, Shepherd and Pepperell both did 20 lap stints in green flags, and I reckon that what they might be able to do again here that would take them to 8 laps to go. Right, has again been saving, goes defensive before he lifts out of the throttle into the first corner, continuing to take pretty drastic action to try to save some fuel, including what's pretty clearly lifting out to about 95-90% throttle some of these straights. Whenever he gets a run at Pepperell that could let him overtake, he doesn't even get close to trying to take it. Is Ethan Bass ahead of Jamie Saxon and Rick Provençal? Bass has already made his final stop. The two guys behind him haven't, best I can tell, but they will be battling each other, potentially for a spot inside of the top 10.
Out of the pits comes Dean Mackay. That's his final stop. Same for Connor Nixon as well. So those two putting themselves in the final stanza of this poem, as it were. Now this time, Adam Wright sticks the nose out on Russell Pepperell. He's going for the move here into Ascari. Now, does he think that he's losing a bit too much pace there behind the Mustang? Or has he been driving to a number and saving fuel there, and have the numbers finally worked out for him is the question. Well, it doesn't stop Pepperell from making his presence known as Shepherd finally jumps into the pit lane.
There's been some action elsewhere in the field, as Russell Pepperell will also come to pit in. This is Isaac Curtis.
Coming into the first of the Lesmos here, catches the grass, and well, when you've got your outside tyres on a slippery surface when you're trying to turn in, there's only one place you're going to go, and it's the wall.
I think he got stuck because he's towed from there. And is Shepherd coming out of the track into fourth. Will be close with Bass, who's at speed. I think Shepherd will just hold on to that one, but it will be close between them for fourth and fifth.
14.7 second stop for Dylan Shepherd. 18.4 for Ethan Bass. Had to take more fuel at the final stop. So now it's going to be down to pace between those guys, and it's going to be a battle of, does Adam Wright have enough fuel to get to the end without saving a bit more? Seems like he's turned the pace up a little bit more here. 148.6 on the previous lap. This is a 49.1 for Matthew Dench. So the intrigue just keeps building here.
Just a true battle to the end now, racing into the darkness at Monza. As we've seen all race, all 2 hours long. Matthew Dench and Porsche 911 not afraid of even some curves on the exit of Ascari. Some of the other mid-engine cars want to stay off. 8 seconds clear of third place. No dramas for Adam Wright and Matthew Dench yet to worry about. Daniel Benefield, who's then 12 seconds clear of Dylan Shepherd, giving the slipstream to Ethan Bass. A couple of things to be decided inside of the top 5. Just a few cars yet to make their final stop. Jamie Saxon from 6th, Bobby Camo from 8th, and it might be just those two. And then, the touch! Wright lifts off early, but he was in a defensive position. Matthew Dench has given him a hit to the rear. Wright's back to needing to save fuel, but he's also trying to defend his leading track position. And Matthew Dench wasn't sure what to make of it. He's not pleased about it.
Yeah, well, you could see that when Wright was lifting out there was a bit of room that Dench could have squeezed into, but Wright started moving back across to the left when they got on the brakes. So that's potentially something that will have ramifications. Top of your screen, the battle for the lead. Bottom of your screen, the battle for fourth. Dylan Shepherd versus Ethan Bass. And it looks like Ethan has been putting in some good times here and keeping in the slipstream of the Audi. Could be on here. Last position in the top four.
When you look at throughout this entire race, their fastest laps, Dylan Shepherd's 47.7, Ethan Bass 47.9. If push comes to shove and they don't need to save any fuel, Shepherd might have 1 or 2 tenths on Ethan Bass, but there are lots of drivers that have fueled for track position, not fueled for 100% performance in this final stint. I think you're seeing that play out with Adam Wright top of screen.
So 7 laps to go here. According to timing on my end, that's a wide exit there from Matthew Dench. He's trying to extend this run out of Parabolica as much as he can. Sticking the slipstream of the Ferrari. He picked up a slight bit of damage to his front right as a result of that contact. I don't think that's going to have much of an effect on the speed of his car, but regardless, it looks like he's keeping his distance this time.
Flag for Saxon in 13th place there. He's just stopped. So it's going to be pit lane speed or one of those issues, of which we've seen a couple of iRacing black flags come from. Checking back in again, 4th and 5th. Bass is going to make Shepherd work for this one. Truly, it seems. Bobby Camo is pitting, and he's the last driver that we were still waiting on, and Adam Jepson too.
Yeah, Jepson with 19 laps complete on that stint. Battle getting ever closer between Shepherd and Bass. Mustang all over the back of the Audi.
Bass is going full in for this. Is like one of the few lap times anyone's doing in the 147s. So Bass has closed in with that slipstream, and he's not showing any sign of saving or tyre preservation or anything like that. Because you see bottom of screen 4th and 5th, they are both going hard, while top of screen, there's still a couple tenths of a second of fuel saving that need to happen for both Wright and Dench by the looks of things. So the two different ways of approaching this is I want to fuel myself to be able to go maximum attack in the final stint versus I've been saving fuel all race. I'll fuel myself to do the same and trust that a bit of slipstream here, a little bit of tactical driving, a little bit of car positioning and pack racing might still save me that again in the final run.
Speaking of Wright and Dench, the number 70 Ferrari in the lead of the race has been given a warning for moving under brakes by race control. So they were watching that. They saw the report, presumably from Matthew Dench, and said, hey, Adam, make sure that you don't do that next time.
Yeah, and that's, look, I think a warning's quite appropriate because I don't think the positions were going to change anyway. So a warning's a good thing to have. Hey, boys, I just had a look at Jamie Saxon. He did get a drive-through penalty. Lift, again, came off the pit lane speed limiter just short of the green cones, but got up to 86, 87 kilometres an hour before the car exited the green cones. So, yeah, dead set, no-brainer, straight through for another drive-through.
We saw
10 minutes here. It's going to be hot amongst the top 5 for this race lead, but you also just saw Ethan Bass have a little bit of a swing at Dylan Shepherd. Didn't get far enough down the inside of turn 1 to complete the move, and obviously that Audi must be pretty strong on the brakes as well and through some of the more technical stuff. But for first, for fourth, and indeed for a handful of other positions out on track in this final stint, it's well and truly up for grabs. Some of those others are like Dean Mackay and Darcy Inwood, or Matthew Gerard, Adam Jepson, Rue Koistra. This is the all Acura battle right here.
Yeah, P18 side by side between Gerard and Jepson. Adam holds on to it and takes a bit of an F1 style line out of the corner there, forcing Gerard to back out of it. And here comes Rukoistra, who has been down in the trenches this whole race. It all started in the first stint for him. Non-stop dramas for the 252.
He's got to slow down.
Yeah.
Too much of the first curb.
Way too much. Yeah. Saw that coming from a mile away. Wright versus Dench again for the lead, and on the bottom of your screen, still together for Dylan Shepherd and Ethan Bass, and Ethan is sneaking a little bit more slipstream there, just a little bit more on the way down to turn 1. Shepherd gives him the room to the inside, going deep into turn 1. Is this the over-under here from Bass? He straightens the car up nice and early. It's not enough to get alongside on the exit of the corner, but he's got some great momentum here for Della Roggia.
Yeah, great battles. And Bass is doing well here to not just barrel in down the inside there and push Shepherd off. He's respecting the braking performance that Shepherd's got, but he crosses him up over-under out of the first chicane, gets to the inside of the second chicane, takes all of the track limits, but gets crossed over himself, heading into the first Lesmo where there's just a little bit of Audi nose down the inside for Shepherd. Out wide in the dust and the marbles, doesn't look profitable at all for Ethan Bass. You saw how much he struggled once he was out wide.
Yeah, and Shepherd going for that massive dive at Lesmo 1. He knew that he'd be able to get up the inside there and force Ethan to give him that space. And Ethan definitely had to open the steering to allow the Audi through without incident. So still more to come from this battle with 4 laps remaining on the ticker when they cross the line here. Ethan does seem comfortable taking those anti-cut curbs, and it's worked out well from here on the exit of Ascari. What is there to be done into Parabolica? Not much. If you're going to be making a move here, you want it to be at turn 1, so you'd rather be behind out of Parabolica.
Yeah, the mid to super high speed, however the Mustang is configured, it seems to pull up to some pretty decent straight line speeds. It's able to exceed 270 kilometers an hour that a lot of the other cars aren't. Some of the other cars can brake better than it, so it gives this overlap to Bass. He looks to get to the inside. Shepherd makes him work for it, but then Shepherd on the racing line brakes so well, keeps his car positioning to the second part. They make a bit of contact here as Bass tries to go around the outside rather than cross him over-under.
Yeah, looked like there might have been a bit of netcode contact involved in that one too. Remember, of course, Ethan racing from the UK and Shepherd from Australia. There's the dive, and oh, Shepherd blinking out of existence briefly, and that comes at completely the wrong time for Ethan Bass. Oh, dearie me. That could have been disastrous just then.
Could have been absolutely monumental. Meanwhile, there's 1.5 seconds between Adam Wright and Matthew Dench in the race lead. Dench has dropped back. Adam Wright is in absolutely prime position. They're working their way through a little bit of traffic, but with what will be 2 or 3 laps to go, suddenly Adam Wright has a race lead that he is extending, and I thought Dench's attacks on the race lead had dropped off just a little bit. Dench himself has dropped off just a little bit. There's not much time left on the clock, which means there's not going to be too many more laps left of Monza Grand Prix for Premier Endurance League's Open GT3 Series.
I can tell you that Matthew Dench probably got a slowdown at Della Roggia. It was the first curb at the second chicane. He was way over it. I think Adam Wright might have just escaped it, but Dench, I think, had to serve a slowdown, and that's why he dropped off. That has come at the complete wrong time for the driver who started on pole. Meanwhile, for the driver who started down in 9th, it is another move up the inside here on Dylan Shepherd. Ethan Bass gets into the top 4, and this time he's ahead into the braking zone for turn 1.
It was all the way clear, but he can't quite take all the corner that he wanted. Shepherd's so good.
Oh, that's good.
can't squeeze him out through the second part. I think Bass has got his nose in front now. He's got superior straight line performance. If he can block Shepherd from diving down the inside on the brakes, he's got him covered. But Shepherd's a wily competitor, immediately into the toe of the big Mustang. Bass most of the way across to defend the inside, and he won't open up the car width there that Shepherd was looking for. He knew what Shepherd wanted, and he didn't give it to him. He's also not going to give him the inside to the first Lesmo. This is right to the limits, but it's great racing with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, brilliant racing. Shepherd trying to get the nose in here at Lesmo too. Ethan will see him coming and go a bit wide. He has to have a couple of goes at the steering and is sent into the gravel trap. It looked like more netcode contact between the two of them. Got a bit over the line there, but tell you what, it was some good defending there from Ethan Bass for the time being. This is what happened to Matthew Dench here. Slow it down and look at that. See how much curb he took in the first apex of the chicane, and immediately blending out of the throttle, he had to serve a slowdown penalty, and that has given Adam Wright a 1.5 second lead with just a couple of laps remaining.
Yeah, and that all happened about a lap and a half ago, and Matthew Dench still hasn't been able to close down that gap to get back in the slipstream of Adam Wright leading the race. That Ferrari's got just enough pace in it right when it matters now. Is 2 laps to go. They did not get the white flag. They will get it next time. This timed race dependent on Adam Wright, the race leader's position. Daniel Benefield's in a bit of a quiet no man's land, heading towards the podium. 4th and 5th has been super spicy the last couple of laps, having gone wide off the second Lesmo from a late dive from Dylan Shepherd. Ethan Bass has closed in, got the slipstream and got too much of the curb, looped it around. There goes 4th place for Ethan Bass.
Oh, that's such a shame. Yeah, I saw him going very deep there on the way into the first chicane, and I thought, oh, maybe he's overheated the rears a bit. Went over the curb and just unsettled the rear. And it's very rare that you see a GT3 actually spinning out of the first turn, and he might have been running a low traction control setting. That's not the end to the battle that we wanted to see. But Shepherd at least will be relieved that he doesn't have that orbit drop bear Mustang in his mirrors. Well, less than a minute on the clock, and the white flag is in Barney's hands at the flag stand. Adam Wright has played this race very well indeed. Matthew Dench, if anything, is even further behind now. That slowdown that he got at Lesmo was the beginning of the end for our pole sitter.
When you remember how long Adam Wright sat in second place. First green flag run, the safety car, the second green flag run, waited to the very, very sort of, well, set it up from the penultimate stop and then really cemented it with the final stop. And again, he showed patience at that penultimate stop where he took a lot of fuel, ran away from the lead, and then jumped it at that very, very final stop. Dench is not getting into the 1 second window that he needs for the slipstream on the Ferrari. If anything, he's beginning to drop just a tiny bit further behind. The clock runs out. We anticipate the checkered flag at the end of this lap. Struggle to see how this isn't coming up even rosier for Adam Wright as the corners go on and as the gap reaches 2 seconds.
Yeah. All he's got to do is make it to the end here, and considering that he hasn't started slowing down, I believe he has enough fuel to get to the end of the race here.
Fastest car on the track last lap was Adam Wright, 47.9. He's going hammer and tongs for it.
Absolutely. That's almost within 2/10 of Dylan Shepherd's overall fastest lap of the race. Well, all he's got to do is make his way through Ascari here, where the sleeping policemen, the speed bumps, have caught out many a driver, but he avoids them. He uses the AstroTurf perfectly, and our top 2 will fly in formation to the end of this race. Masterful strategy play here from Adam Wright, and this will be a very well-deserved victory.
Round 3 at Monza, Italy's famous son, the Temple of Speed. Could it be anyone but one of the few Ferraris in this race? 2 hours of racing. Adam Wright masterclass takes the win from an unlikely position. Matthew Dench completes the podium with Daniel Benefield. Dylan Shepherd's 4th place is going to give him the championship lead with 3 rounds completed. Got a bit quiet for Daniel Benefield in the back half of the race, but that's a patient drive to continue bagging points when power failure in the tropical cyclone took him out of last round when he was in a really, really solid position. Here's some other cars on the lead lap that have continued to battle it out. Matthew Gerard in the orange and copper NSX. Bobby Camo, one of the most fuel-efficient drivers in the Day Globe Water.
Yeah, Bobby, one of the last cars to pit in this race, along with Adam Jepson, who's up ahead, battling with Patrick Reardon for 15th place. Is there anything for Bobby to do here? Had to have a couple of goes at the steering into Ascari. Not the best line on the way in, and it seems like on the way out, he might be under threat from Rue Koistra as well. Anything to be done here into Parabolica? Koistra catching the slipstream of the Porsche. This is only for the minor positions, but they're racing like it's the final lap of the race, and it certainly is the final lap for these guys. Koistra almost getting on by. Might be a bit of a drag race to the line, but Bobby's going to protect this position for everything he's got. Oh no! Slows down there. He ran out of fuel right at the end.
Koistra got him. Yeah.
Wow.
Less than a tenth of a second, because it was 20 thousandths of a second. No wonder Bobby tried to protect it with Koistra. Man, he'll be not happy with the race in total, but be happy at the very, very final hurdle to pick up one more stop. Dylan Shepherd, the championship leader, not unhappy with 4th place by the looks of things. And of course, you've got to say, a masterstroke by Adam Wright, who saved all of his pace till the final 3 or 4 laps when he really showed us.
Yeah, for sure. He was just on the outside looking in for the majority of that, but you know, take nothing away from Adam, from Matthew Dench's race either. He led very convincingly in those early stages, and he was able to save that fuel despite being hounded by the rest of the top 6. But it is right on top by 1.6 seconds at the end of 2 hours of racing. Benefield completing the podium there. Good drive up. 3 positions gained. Shepherd, of course, taking the championship lead with that 4th place finish. Had to fend off Ethan Bass in the final stages, with Pepperell getting 6th spot, up 9 places. That's a very solid run from the 750. Mackay could have been a potential podium for him, but it went wrong on the way through. Had to settle for 7th ahead of Darcy Inwood. Eli Donaldson, another driver that had plenty of issues. Our championship leader coming into this round, Connor Nixon, managing to get 10th spot, and big damage limitation night for him.
Yeah. Just squeaks back inside of the top 10. Well, Trent Stapleton finished 11th. Rick Provençal from the very, very back of the grid finished 12th. Tommy Wallace in 13th, just ahead of Stuart Shaw. Adam Jepson just ahead of Patrick Reardon. Matthew Gerard, and of course, this is one that enthralled us right to the end. Rue Koistra just ahead of Bobby Camo by a very fractional margin. Camo could have done with 10 mil more fuel, and he might have held on. Brad Coates finished 20th, as most of the field stayed on the lead lap.
Yeah, Mark Foster and Jamie Saxon, the last drivers to be classified on the lead lap. Ashley Kutchie was first a lap down, joined by Kurt Nommensen and Daniel Coleman. Martin Lipsky coming home 2 laps down, had to deal with a penalty in the closing stages there. Isaac Curtis towing without permission from race control, and there'll be a post-race investigation for that. Andrew Scordalis running out of fuel. Ben Woods with heavy damage. Jackson Dial, unfortunate hardware issue for him with his audio headset. Rounding out your top 30. Sam Sproul also retiring from this one. Same for James Abella, classified 32nd. Keith McClymont, Logan Murphy, and Trent Allen were out an awful lot earlier. Allen the first to be out of the race. So plenty of stories ending sadly for those further down in the field, but a very happy ending to the race for our top drivers here. It looks like we might have our race winner in ready for a chat.
Sure do. The whole podium standing by, and we head straight to the top step of the podium. I mean, it takes a little bit of everything to win these races, doesn't it, Adam? You had to have some pace in reserve for the end. You had to have patience, and then a little bit of a strategy mind as well, and the confidence to believe that your long penultimate stop would pay back at that final stop.
Yeah, we done some quite extensive testing prior to the race, and I'd always planned on fuel saving. It was just depending on how much fuel I could save, and staying in the draft, were able to save quite a decent amount of fuel. So I wasn't going to move from the draft. I was just going to sit tight and let it all play out. And look, it was close. I only ended up with 0.3 liters left, so it was nail biting. But we stuck to the plan. We didn't deviate, and it paid off in the end.
Externally, just watching, it looked like the Porsches were very good at taking the curbs and the sausage curbs. It looked like the Ford Mustang had a really good end of straight peak speed. What was the advantage or best quality to the Ferrari that let you be right up there?
I think the aero plays a big part in it. The Ferrari's pretty good with their aero balance. We'd been struggling a little bit with the aero, but we dialed it in a week leading up to it. So I honestly, I think the biggest thing for me was aero and keeping consistent laps, and that's what I was able to do. It was a little bit difficult over the curbs, but we just made it work and adjusted it to suit it.
A winner at Monza in a Ferrari, you'll never pay for pasta or a Peroni ever again. Congratulations, and who'd you like to thank?
Cheers, mate. Yeah, no, I'd like to thank Hyperion Racing. I've made the switch from Aerokinetics to these boys. They're pretty high up in the standings, and they've allowed me to jump on board. So I appreciate them allowing me to jump on board. And if you guys don't know who they are, go check them out. Hyperion Racing.
Race winner Adam right there with his thoughts, and congrats to him for an epic performance. His key rival in this one, Reese, was Matthew Dench, who
Who
perhaps
is
we
not
don't
here?
have. No. So we got to go to Daniel Benefield, perhaps then, Reese.
Yes. All right. Here we go then. Car number 34 in the box with us. And Daniel, you were making moves early on to try and put yourself in contention for that podium. You were one of the first to sort of break that draft train stranglehold in the first stint of the race. And after the second pit cycle, things started to change.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted a bit better track position in the train. I knew any saving was really only going to make the first stop shorter. It wasn't going to cost me going the extra lap. So I was looking for a bit of track position, and that's why I kind of broke it.
Yeah. So after I believe it was the second pit stop, you and Adam stayed out a little bit longer than Matthew Dench did. What were you backing off after or around that time, or were you having some problems with the car?
A little bit of saving, little bit just making sure I could keep the draft, because I knew if I kept the draft, they'd pull me away from the rest of the field, which they did. So that kind of third stint of the race after the no, correction, second stop of the race. First stop of the race, second stint of the race after the safety car was about keeping in the draft. But in reality, I knew I didn't have their pace, and I was probably, as after the second stops kind of showed, I was probably actually slower than a couple of cars behind me that I pulled away from in the tow.
Well, towards the end of this race, looking forward to the next few rounds of the championship. You certainly got a fast car, certainly got potential for more podiums, potentially some wins in the future for you. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Just our sponsors over at 9.5. So that's Racecraft Simulations, RSW Graphics, Track School Track Days, and Racing Ears.
Well, Daniel Benefield can celebrate his podium there. Quiet at the end, but the result came, and it was very well done indeed. Finally, looks like we have fourth place on track, and our new championship leader, David, Dylan Shepherd's with you.
Yeah, Dylan, we're spoilt for choice with GT3 cars on iRacing these days, unlike maybe 5 to 6 years ago. You're the best performing Audi, and so to give that to give you the championship lead must be pleasing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think realistically third for the night because I think Denchi was in the wrong car. He was in the Mercedes in the earlier round, so I think the rules say it's a DQ. So really coming away with third points is really good because I said to the guys earlier in the week, like, the Audi doesn't feel too great around Monza with a straight line. If I can just stick around the top 5 and just collect maximum points, it'd be pretty good. So to come around with possibly third, yeah, it's all I could ask for it really, and yeah, pretty happy with it.
Without the timing of the first safety car that cut the first stint a little bit short, was 2 stops ever going to be a possibility, or were we always headed for 3 and the safety car brought the first one further forward?
I think we were always going to see 3. I mean, I think if the rain came, normally that extends it out quite a bit. But I think we're looking at the limited guys the week before. I think a few of them, yeah, chipped in and said that they're pretty far from the 2-stopper. So yeah, I think it was always going to be a 3-stopper, but yeah.
Qualifying 5th, finishing 4th makes it sound like a pretty tame 120 minutes, but we saw for all drivers, all cars, all sorts happening, like that safety car, like a splash and dash to perhaps be had towards the end. How did you cut up the final 2 stops, and how much thought went into it?
Yeah, so yeah, pretty good on fuel saving in the first stint, staying with the lead pack. First stop, yeah, everyone pretty much did the same thing and was on the same numbers, I think. The second stint, I just probably didn't react quick enough when everyone started pushing to 100%. I probably hadn't practiced enough with cooler weather. I was kind of just using the markers in the hot weather, and I think later in the race I realised I could actually push this a lot more. So I lost a little bit of time on that lead pack in that middle stint of the race. But I think, yeah, where we ended up is where all the best I was going to get, really. So yeah, we had luckily but unfortunately had Sam crash out a bit early in the race, so he was keeping an eye on the weather radar. So I think a few people were looking at fuel numbers to cover wet tyres if they needed to later in the race. But he said to us, like, the radar's grey, there's no rain coming. So I just went with this pretty simple full fuel, and splash and dash at the end.
Well, you bag some points, you lead the championship, and we look forward to seeing you for some of the future races. And we go to the Nürburgring GP layout next time. Is that something that you're gonna put in a bit more practice, a bit more preparation again?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, try and do as much prep for everything as I can with the limited time I've got. But yeah, I love the Nürburgring. I'd love to have a race at the full Nordschleife, but the GP circuit will do. And yeah, looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good race, and I think the Audi should be pretty good there.
We look forward to it too. We'll see you there, and all eyes on you, championship leader Dylan.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for the effort.
So we were looking at them provisionally throughout the race, Reese. Now that the race is run, 3 rounds completed, it's a hot championship.
Certainly is. Only 10 points the gap between Dylan Shepherd and Dean Mackay at the top. Ethan Bass closing in on them, though, with that very nice 5th place finish. He gets 4th in the championship. Connor Nixon falling to P3. Wasn't the best points day for him, but honestly, considering all the dramas that he suffered, I think he did the best he could. The battle between Woods and Shaw, meanwhile, it's definitely in the favour of Stuart Shaw, back to 5th place in the championship. Blake Nick wasn't here today. Daniel Benefield up to P7 with his podium, and Pepperell rounding out the top 10 there. So Adam Wright also getting into the top 10 thanks to the win. Let's see how he goes next round, David, at the Nürburgring. Going to be looking forward to that one.
Yep, in about a month's time, you'll see that live here on SimSpeed TV as well. So make sure you're following us on all of our channels, like YouTube and others, for when the Gamer Gear Direct Australian GT3 Open Series continues. The Nürburgring Sports Car GP layout. proves to be just as thrilling, and maybe the weather will bring some excitement there. If it doesn't, we know that the strategy, the slipstreaming, the fuel saving, and the wheel-to-wheel racing will deliver excitement. David Haynes with Peter Baxter, Reese Gardner, and Jay Kennedy to bring you Premier Endurance League live here on SimSpeed TV. We can't wait to head to the Nürburgring in a month's time.